teacher at the junior high, and then Aaron Basita, who used to be at Fitch Mountain and is the new 6th grade teacher at the junior high. And I actually want to recognize them. They did quite an undertaking leading the junior high staff through a long conversation about potentially adopting a new bell schedule, and got here because of their leadership. And I'm excited to hear what they have to say today and for the changes they proposed.
Sorry, we threw everybody off.
Yeah, it's all good.
Thank you. Is it on? Yeah? Oh, it's on.
Hello?
Yeah. We can hear you. You have to get closer. All right, so we have this conversation about our bell schedule started a couple of years ago. Some of us attending MTSS trainings and PLC trainings kind of saw the need to make some modifications. So are we clicking? Sorry, ourselves? Oh, I would love it if you want to. So just a little inspirational quote here. Coming together is a beginning, staying together is a process, and working together is a success. And so I feel like working with Nicole over the last few years, we've really kind of shifted our culture, and now we're able to have these kind of difficult conversations, and the staff really trust each other. And so even with her gone, we were able to make, some really big changes, I think, that are going to benefit the school. So we just wanted to share our process with you guys and the schedule that we would hope to adopt. We did this all together as a staff, and really, it was pretty magical. I'm going to say that again. So we have some more details coming up. Jump in whenever you want. If you don't want to, I'm just going to keep going.
Keep going.
All right. So actually having Bill on our campus as a sub for Nicole really helped us learn a little bit about the history. And so we found out that the schedule we're currently on was supposed to be a one-year adoption. It was supposed to be back in 1617 to transition to a full block schedule. Through some changes that happened in leadership, that never happened. And so we've been on a schedule that was not intended to be the schedule for a very long time. And the other thing that we've seen with this schedule that we have now is we have our meal times vary throughout the week, our start and end times vary throughout the week, and there's a lot of transitions on those 7-period days.
Let me just speak to that too. Coming from FMC, where the structure that we had was very in stone, right? It just worked. It was very complicated adjusting to that as a new teacher too, because there was a lot of changes going on throughout the day. So just imagine as a child going through that for just, as a first-time student coming from FMC and having to deal with that. That is a big piece to what we ended up really focusing on and changing. And I just can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah, so we started looking at data. We have way more discipline issues on our 7-period days. Kids are fatigued. 7th period on Thursday and Friday is really hard for everyone, adults and kids, because it's a long run, 2 days in a row. And the kids just aren't learning at the same level in our 7th period classes. We started to look at other middle schools around us for their length of day, their types of schedules. I looked at every middle school in the county, I think, at one point, and ran their numbers and tried to figure out, where's the sweet spot. And then when we saw the high school coming out with their new schedule, it really kind of started the conversation again that, okay, maybe we need to take some action. So this is just a comparison of us with a couple of the schools that people tend to compare us with, Windsor and St. Helena. And I did just a kind of a generic week. And you'll see we are in school with our students an hour and a half or so more a week than St. Helena. And further investigation, an hour a week at St. Helena is spent in intervention time and wellness, which we're not sure what that is. But they have times, they have like a tutorial time. They also have some opt-in stuff that kids do. And so it's really, we're a couple, 2 to 3 hours a week. Our kids are in class, focused on academics more than our surrounding schools. And you'll also see we have the most variety in our day lengths and end times compared to the others. So this is kind of our timeline. I'm sure you guys have seen all of these already, but we reviewed schedules all the last couple of years. Conversations sort of started, and then this fall we picked up a bit more. And then once we had Bill kind of fill us in on the history and understanding of why we are where we are now, we just started meeting as a staff. And Aaron really jumped in because I was feeling kind of like I've been kind of trying to get this started, but and with those extra minutes that we had with Bill, Nicole did a really great job of preloading all of our staff meeting stuff while she was there. We had some intense staff meetings that we got prepared, and it was awesome. And so we had a little bit of time where we could have some of these conversations as a staff. And then even outside of our staff meetings, we started to hold kind of informal meetings, and everyone was showing up. And that's where it got really interesting, because people who didn't want to change, people who want to change, vocal and quiet people on both fronts were in the same room. And we were lucky he has like a dozen whiteboards, because we had lists of pros and cons and ideas flowing, and it was really organic how it all kind of came together. And so we just start trying to, have some creative thinking here and get all the minds in the room. So what we kind of got to as a staff is that we wanted to balance that academic piece with the social emotional piece. Our day ending at 3:20, 3 days a week, doesn't provide a lot of time for kids to stay after school to get help. A lot of them are off to sports or activities. We had a lot of kids missing school for sports in our 7th period because it goes into those game times. We also are missing time for staff members to get together. We have a pretty solid structure of, you meet with your department, you meet with your grade level. Like, this is the first time I've gotten to work with Aaron because we're not in the same department or grade level. And so trying to build some time to do different projects, different academic development for our kids in a not a staff meeting way. So this is the schedule where we landed. You can see Monday is a little bit exhausting. We kept our Mondays. There was a very strong feeling by staff that needed a touch point with all students on the first day of the week to set up expectations and homework and planners and all of those kind of student skills and organizational skills that we're trying to teach our middle schoolers on how to, do school properly. And then we go into a schedule that kind of mirrors the high school a little bit, alternating blocks. And then we did what we're calling it the skinny 7, because we take our 7th period and distribute it on 3 days. So it's thirds instead of, 2 periods. And that provided us with the same break time every day, the same lunch time, except Mondays are a little bit different, but it's not too far off. The same lunch time every day for their bodies and our bodies to, not have an hour and a half difference, which is hard. And it provides us with our meeting time on Tuesdays, which we will keep to keep those kind of structural things that we're used to. But then we've added what we're calling a flex time for students after school on Wednesday, and PLC time for our staff to sit down and do some of that deeper data collection, examination of our practice, cross-grouping, projects, whatever is the most needed at the time, or that we're working on, or that Nicole thinks is our task at hand, I suppose. So keep going. Okay, so these are all the reasons, right? We're kind of here where we feel like we were supporting our English learners, improving our collaboration, optimizing our instructional time. Our blocks are a little bit longer in this schedule, so it gives us a little bit more time in those block periods and more block periods a week. As a science teacher, hallelujah. I'm so excited because I feel like it's really hard to split my labs up. I'm not doing as much hands-on because I can't finish in 50 minutes. And so having a second block period for me and for, I'm selfishly very excited about that. And better use of prep time. So we have taken some of our prep time away, but we're putting it in a different way after school where we can focus a little bit more and we're all free to work together. And it's not just who's on prep. And then kind of this is where we feel like we're going, alignment better with the high school schedule and the elementary school schedule. They're blocking in big blocks of time in elementary. And then when they come to us, they're moving around a ton and it's very confusing, especially for our 6th graders. And then they're going to the high school and having very long blocks. And so this, we feel, is a better bridge. And then we're also focusing on supporting kids. And we're putting the time and the energy into really figuring out, who's learning, what they're learning, why they're not learning. And we have the time to have those conversations before 3:20 when we're all just, exhausted.
There were a lot of systematic issues prior to the change. The students were not achieving greatness. And I saw that coming from FMC and then going to the junior high. And obviously they were changing, but they weren't what they could be. And it really, the schedule, the system that we had with that was not promoting student success or focus. Lots of wasted time with their passing periods, and then I had a friend that used to call it setting up the circus and taking it down. You know, when you're doing that over and over, that's a lot of wasted time as well. And so this really does eat away at that. And I think it creates this, I don't know if it's like more of a holistic approach for them, or a healthier system where students can really not thrive, but just really start to like build relationships with us and themselves after school, hopefully too. I know you guys saw the flex time piece. That's a really exciting piece. Actually, can we move to that? Yeah, so it's a small chunk. It's 30 minutes right now, but there's some huge possibilities that can come from the system. And I think the greatest part is that we'll be able to really develop new relationships with students, and really get them to engage with the school as not like this horrible thing they have to go to, but this like place that offers all these cool resources. And I think that's a big win for us, but also them. The next slide, I think, has a little bit.
It's our new flex dog.
Our eighth grade math teacher created that. Sir Flex-a-Lot is not the official name, but
that was the one that got the most responses in the teacher email chain.
Yeah, but it could be anything. I mean, it's really, you can do clubs. You can really focus on academics. You can, I mean, it is. We put up there that the possibilities are endless because it really is a cool way for students to start to engage and also have their own voice on what they want. And we just didn't have that before in our old schedule, and you could see it as they graduate. There's something missing with our junior high students.
How is a decision made for what the student does during flex time? Who decides that?
So we're starting out with it. It's going to be opt-in, right? So it's outside of our instructional minutes. So we're going to work hard at marketing, and we're going to start there. And we're going to, talk to kids about what they're interested in. We want to provide some more leadership opportunities. Our kids, they want to connect. They really want to connect, but they will not give up their lunchtime to do that. And so that's why this after-school opportunity we think is a good place to start. We both feel like this is going to grow, and we're going to find more time to have more flex because kids are going to
crave it.
Yeah,
they're going to want it.
Mm-hmm. And so, right now we have our system that we use for tracking their we call them Grey Pup points, right? Their involvement points. That system has a whole intervention piece that we're not using where we can take attendance and kids get rewarded for going, and then they get more points for their teams. And so we're really going to build up that kind of culture piece of their belonging to that team, and they can earn points by going to a basketball game, or they can go to a club or participation, and then they can also get prizes for themselves. And so kind of build that economy while also providing really cool stuff, hopefully partnering with the community to bring in as much as we can.
And Mike, the other piece is communication with the parents. So I have an 8th grader at home, and they don't do flex time, but they do something similar. And we constantly get these emails for signups. And I'm like, yes, I can get you out of my house and go do something. And that's like the other piece to it too. So it's not just the kids, right? We're trying to like really incorporate every piece of the kid, the family as well, the parents, in this process. And hopefully there's going to be a lot of dominoes that come from that too in terms of wins for us academically.
What if they don't want to go to anything?
I am sure we're going to have that issue. It's going to be similar to what happened with this process here, the schedule. It is likely going to be this organic experience again of what do we need to do to find out ways to get these students to come. So we're near capacity during the day. As we've not done it yet, I can't give you that complete answer. But having gone through this process and seen everyone step up, like what she was saying, and seeing everyone like just committed to this new thing that can actually become something huge, that's where I think we'll find those answers. And it's probably going to just be a similar scenario.
I don't want to. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I don't want to get in on your flow if you're going to talk about this later. But we just had, our family has 2 freshmen this year, so and our kids started 6th grade right after COVID reopening, and it was really getting pushed off the high dive into the deep end for them, and it had a lot of we had a lot of challenges that went on the entire time they were at the junior high that are being addressed beautifully. Like, I'm emotional listening to you. And I read the slide deck and I loved it, but listening to you talk about the way that you're addressing some of the things that our family really struggled with in the last few years, including like profound kind of deep disinterest in school and rejection of the values of being told what to do and all these things, which, I know are part of adolescence and part of life. You have to buy in for your own reasons. But my feeling was that they were, they had complex, almost adult style schedules that they were dealing with, no clear windows for when to get help with the pieces that they needed, including lots and lots of logistical things that had to do with having 7 different bosses who all had different expectations and different timing on grading and different timing on a lot of things. And if there had been a flex time opportunity for them to get help from their teachers and just check in, it would have made a really big difference in their level of success, certainly in certain situations, maybe not always. But anyway, I really, really, really appreciate this kind of really well thought out deep dive into how to address so many of these pieces. So, flex time's super exciting.
Very
Thank you.
exciting.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah. So were you going to say something else?
I have a lot of questions, but I think you're going to work it out, so we'll talk again
Yeah.
down the road. No, I mean, I see a huge amount of the kids embracing this, talking to each other, switching and whatever, and there's going to be some over here that either don't care or are too shy or whatever, but you're going to work that out.
Yeah, I think like everything, change is hard.
Right.
So just changing the bell schedule is going to be a huge shift. Introducing this idea of flex, and like I said, St. Helena has it locked into their schedule. I mean, they have put it into their day that everyone's going to this once a week, but I think we need to get there, right? We need to, as adults as well, see and feel the benefits of it. I mean, you got the loudest cheerleaders here right now, but I think that, yeah, we'll have to see.
Okay.
And
That's great.
we'll be actively involved in the process.
The other thing to remember too is they often say to get a business started, you give it 3 years, and then you really know what you have. We really don't have 3 years when you look at what we're dealing with at the junior high.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not just that. Every year, they're important. Yeah. Right. So we understand it's going to take time to figure it out, but we also understand it needs to be figured out quickly and done well. I can't answer how we will fix those things yet, but like you're saying, the desire to do it is there, and that's how I know it will happen.
So this is kind of our timeline of rollout. I mean, obviously we've already talked to Nicole about some summer stuff, what we're going to do in August, how we can get everyone, excited and figure out some of this marketing stuff or our PLC, how we're going to use that time. And we're going to do that collaboratively with her. So getting here was the point that we got to, and we're going to kind of, continue our training. I'm part of the PLC team, and so we're going to keep, we have a training in a couple weeks, and so just keep that momentum.
So I just want to thank you for paying attention to those 6th grade students. I was on the board when we closed Foss Creek School and put the 6th graders over, and it was with the intention that those 6th graders were in blocks with the advantage of having PE every day, which is a big deal for me. And but it was never that they were to go into a 7-period day, which they did. And I'm really want to thank you for paying attention to those 6th grade kids, because I think we lost a lot putting them into a 7-period day in 6th grade.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense either. I was talking to Chris about this. Our entire educational lives are really, as you get higher up, are really in the world of block scheduling or long segments of time. College, high school is often done that way now. And so it doesn't, and FMC, obviously, it's not a block schedule, but it mirrors it in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes sense to move these pieces together so they're making sense for the students as they're going through K and beyond, right? They'll have this like system that makes sense in terms of what you do in a room and how long you're doing it and what you're doing in there. Where when you're doing these quick spurts, memories are lost, and also it just doesn't happen anymore. When you go into the later years of education, that system doesn't exist. So.
Well, I just want to say thank you both for your leadership, and it's awesome to see the staff working together in such a productive way without the principal there. So yeah, I know it was a heavy lift, and just really appreciate you both for your time and your passion.
If you're listening, we want you back, though.
Yes, come back. Please come back.
We're having a hard time keeping her from working. So yeah.
Once she said, once she responded to a text, it was all over. Poor thing, we've been bothering.
But thank you to both of you and to the entire staff for all your time on it. Yep.
Thank you.
She just commented and said, "I'm here."
And have fun with it. Have fun with it.
Okay, so we will go back now to number 8, celebrating our success, which is the high school internship program. And we have Dave Hubble, our work-based learning coordinator, to introduce our illustrious students.
Yes, thank you again for making time for us tonight. Really appreciate it. Good to be back with you. So before we hear about some awesome internship experiences from our students, I just wanted to give you, a quick highlights on this year's internship. So this is the completion of my 3rd year. It's been an exciting, fun ride, and I really love all the interaction I get with the students. What I love about the program is it really is student interest based. That's the foundation, and that's what drives me to go find new connections and new businesses. I love doing that. And we've had some great growth. So not only do we continue to build the internship business ecosystem, we strengthen it with our existing relationships. So we're thrilled about that. But the foundation for me is that what I hear, the constant refrain from mentors, from outside folks that work with us on interviews or different activities, is how do you get your students so prepared? Which, that's great. We love that kind of feedback, and I wish I could take all the credit. But I have to say, what is the magic for me working in this program is the fact that we have that junior seminar framework. Without that, we can't drive the minutia of the preparation. And what I mean by that is for mock interviews, we bring over 30 community and business folks in to interview each one of the juniors, to sit down with them. That happens in the fall. Well, before we do that, we do a lot of practice that happens in the classroom. They all get familiar with the questions and more comfortable with that environment, so they show up as their best selves in that event. So that's one piece. We bring industry experts into the classroom, and that helps the students learn about what career looks like as a trajectory, or that career, as I like to look at it, as an action verb. We do a lot of different activities that leads to, exploration and finding our path personally. So it's great to be able to bring that into the classroom. And then I get to work on career assessments with them, and that's going to be focusing, having the tools to dig in on their interests, skills, personality, and kind of values, all figuring out how this maps to what possible internships we can consider for them. They do practice writing cover letters. They write one to me before I do the one-on-one interview with them, and then they again write that to their mentor. I'm kind of laying this out because I feel like, look, if we didn't have this, we wouldn't be able to show up as our best. I mean, the students. So, I'm thanking the program for its brilliance and its structure. I get a lot of solicitations, both within the county and nonprofits, of how do you do it? This is a key piece of it. So, thank you. With that, some quick overview of the trends. This year, we had a lot of interest in engineering, science, business, and medical. Some of that's not surprising, given the fact that we do have 2 engineering classes. There were a lot of juniors in that, so that required me to go out and really find some new relationships. Our construction class, CASA, really has continued to grow and get more engaged as well. So with that, I had a chance this year to onboard 10 new internship partners. The first, Gelati Construction, which we're going to be doing more with them, and particularly around CASA, so we're excited about that. We had 2 students there. In engineering space, I brought in Alio Labs, which is an engineering startup right here in Windsor, and we had 2 students there. Max Machinery typically would only take 1. I got them to stretch, so we had 2 students there, and they had a great experience, so they're on board to continue this. Sonoma Jet Center, we had a student there who is very excited about aviation and anything related to that. In addition to that, we brought on the Bird Rescue Center because I had Ashley Jenkins that loved to study birds and wants to be an ornithologist. So that was a lot of back and forth, really, with all of these organizations. They have their own ways of working with students, and it's my job to figure out how to bring them into the program, which is set and works for us. So it's a lot of back and forth, but eventually we get there. In addition to that, I was thrilled to bring on or collaborate with Sonoma State Biology Lab. And one of the students we're going to hear from, Meher, helped open that door to the lab, which is a phenomenal, leading research lab. I visited it. I had the chance to meet with the team and the professor. Just great things happening there. And they were very much initially like, no, students fit here, or they can come in and engage with us in their own way. But we got them on board with the program, and they're thrilled to continue that, really thanks to the students that were there. Healdsburg Hospital is new, and they're owned by Providence. That was a big one for us, and we had 3 students there, and I'm excited to continue that work. That was a really great internship for them because they were rolled through at least several different departments in the hospital. Healdsburg Jazz Foundation, another partner. In addition, the city of Healdsburg, which has been one of our bigger ones because we're in the police, fire, we're in the IT department, engineering. We had 2 students in public works. And then finally, Enzo Village, right up on the north side, we had 2 students in their marketing and business development office. And Chris had the privilege of going up there with me and getting a chance to see that working process.
Nick Flores, HHS alum, is the marketing director there. So it was fun to reconnect with him, and he's the one taking on our interns. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Only in Healdsburg, the full circle experience. I took Chris out there, and it was like, what? Principal Vandenheuvel? So it was great. So really, those are relationships that we can continue to build and grow. I have to give Healdsburg Elementary School a special shout out because they did take 6 students, which was a big ask for them. They were all assigned to individual teachers, and we've got a lot of new elementary teachers in training. We're thrilled about. And then finally, I want to thank my colleague teacher, John Camp, who has run this thing. And I worked with him exclusively this year because he did seminar and Avid 11. He just has a great history. I mean, he was here at the beginning of this program, I think about 14 years ago. Chris, and there were a few others that sort of got this off the ground. So it was great. He is retiring, but it was great to work with him. And he takes it seriously, which helps us really show up the best we can. And I had the privilege of also having an opportunity to take him around to see some of the internship sites. And so he got to see, things in action. So that was great. So now the moment we've been waiting for, I'm thrilled to have Jasmine, Niles, and Meher with us to share their experiences. So we're first going to hear from Jasmine.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Hernandez, and I internship at the Sonoma County Law Library. I met a lot of different lawyers, and I met a judge, and Mr. Pelakis was my mentor. He taught us about the government and how that works today, and just different aspects of law. We met Mr. Urasat, who's a judge at the Public Defender Court in Santa Rosa, and Mrs. Munchow, who is a personal injury lawyer and has 2 kids going into law school. We also met Rebecca Slay, who is a paralegal, and she taught us about her work and how it's different from a lawyer, but she also does lawyerish work. Another person we met was Mr. Verlin. He was a former state prosecutor, and he had a court case that went to the Supreme Court. So that was really cool to learn about. Mr. Pirtle was the dean of Empire College of Law, which was really cool. He taught us about how undergrad college is different from law college because there's different classes you take, and it's more law-based. Lisa was a corporate lawyer. She worked at the law library, and she taught us about her journey when she started in the 70s to now and how it's different. And so she taught us about how it was cool that she gets to travel a lot, and she worked with big businesses. I went to a few different places during my internship. Like I said before, I went to the law library. This is a place you can go to look up different laws and codes to help with your cases and to help support your case that you're working on. And I also went to the Public Defender Court of Santa Rosa, and we sat in at the defender's closing statement for a murder trial that happened in 2016 near Sonoma State. That was a really cool experience, and it was cool to see how working in trial in real life, and it was really cool. The third place we went to was Empire College of Law, and that was the law school over by the law library, and we met with Dean Pirtle, like I mentioned earlier, and he taught us about his journey from becoming a lawyer to a dean. Throughout this internship, I learned about the law industry and the different career paths that you can have within this one degree that you get. You can become a professor, you can be a teacher, you can also become a lawyer or a paralegal, and you can also work at the Sonoma County Law Library. This opened up a lot of job opportunities, especially when you own a law degree, because you can be many different things and know about the law, so it's really beneficial. And you can also have many different interests and still be a lawyer because there's certain types of law that is for everyone. Okay, skills that I learned is that you need to be really passionate when it comes to your job because you don't want to hate your job, especially as a lawyer, because you're going to be doing it for a long time. And you have to really like reading because you're going to be reading a lot, whether that's working on cases or looking up codes in a law library. You're just going to always be reading. And you also want to be good at arguing because you're going to need to argue your points to the other person and make sure that it comes out clear and concise so they know what you're talking about. You also want to have really good communication because you're going to be communicating with a lot of different people, and you just need to make sure you have really good communication skills. My future goals, I want to go to college, hopefully UCLA. I want to go to law school, and I want to become a lawyer. I want to pass the bar exam in either New York or California, and I want to either open up my own law firm or work at a big law firm. A big person who was an inspiration to me was Elle Woods. I thought it was funny how nobody really took her serious and about going to Harvard Law and thought she was just being silly. And in the end, she became a really important person in the law field. And so she's one of my inspirations. And that was it. Thank you. Sorry.
Do you know what kind of law you want to go into?
Yeah, I either want to go into family law or corporate law. Not really litigation. It didn't really seem to appeal to me as much, but it was a cool experience.
Great.
What was the best experience that you had during your internship?
I think it was going to the courthouse and seeing a trial and seeing the closing statement. It was really cool to see how the different aspects were and just to see how it ran, like when you're in there and like all the different parts. It was a really cool experience. It was definitely my favorite.
Right.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
Hey. Yeah, I was just going to hit a little readjustment real quick. Hey guys, my name is Niles Cobb, and my internship was with the Sonoma Art School. So let's first get into my background. My dad's an architect, so I kind of come from a design family, you could kind of say. Grandparents were also artists in their own little way, but yeah, I've always been into illustration, been into, comic books as a kid. Big graphic design guy, big Photoshop guy, illustrator guy, like typography. So yeah, it's kind of always been my future career to kind of pursue something within the design field. So that's why I got coupled up with the Sonoma Art School, which is kind of, I thought was kind of down my alley, and it turned out to be a great experience. Skills needed for the internship. Well, I mean, a lot of the internship, I definitely had my idea of what the internship was going to be, and then we started kind of getting into the role of things, and it was a lot of just visiting with artists, and it was a great experience to, kind of meet up with these artists and see what the community is like. So networking skills obviously were important, and you also just have to have a passion for the subject materials. I'm not going to name names. There's always people who, they don't necessarily want to be there, and they don't get as much out of it as other people, but, it's my benefit, because if I want to be there, I'm going to soak up the environment a little better, and, so yeah, you definitely have to have a passion, for sure, to be able to soak up your environment. Yeah. So what is my internship? The Sonoma Art School is a nonprofit, goes around different schools. I think they've probably worked with our school district a couple of times. But yeah, so it's spearheaded by Kelly Ebling. She's a super nice instructor. She led us through the, vast world of art and, kind of how that is. And yeah, she pretty much coordinated a bunch of meetings with a bunch of different local artists that we're going to get into later. But yeah, so it's kind of just, educating the youth, little art programs, stuff like that. Super cool stuff. So week one, I'm going to be frank. Week one was the best week. It kind of was like a steady decline, but, it's still great great internship along the way. But yeah, so we met with Jake Messing. Super cool guy. He went to Parsons, and he got me hyped on that school. But yeah, so he's really an illustration. You can see him up there. I'm with my boy Milo, and we are just, having a jolly good time. And pretty much, I mean, they were, the biggest thing I got from week one is honestly just meeting with the actual artists and talking to them, because my instructor, Kelly Ebling, she dropped some knowledge on us day one. She was like, the art industry, it's not like any other industry. There's many different paths to success, and you're going to find your own path. So I think from that, it instilled in me I need to, kind of be ready to kind of communicate with people, network. So it's kind of all about your environment in, the artistic world. So yeah, met with Jake Messing, met with Jessica Martins. She does more abstract stuff, while Jake Messing does some more real. You can kind of see like a little rainbow tiger artwork in the back. That's pretty cool. But yeah, they both do different things, but they're both super successful in their own right. So yeah. Still week one, we met with this super cool guy, Bob Casagrande. He did black and white photography back in like the 70s and 80s. And obviously it's not as popular as it is now, but because everything's kind of digital. But he did run us through the process, and he talked about how he worked with some super cool people in like Italy and stuff. And it was just a huge, you see me taking a picture. I was just fascinated. It was great. I'm not going to lie. Honestly, just hearing about how through different mediums, because coming into this, I was kind of only pen and paper, pencil and paper. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go with that all the way. All the artists that I like were just pen and stuff like that. But I think this definitely expanded my horizons when it came to mediums. For me to experiment, for portfolios in colleges, they like painting and stuff like that. So it's cool to see all these other different representations of people's artistic identity. So yeah. Still week one. We got a lot done on week one. Like I said, this is a great week. We visited some galleries that you guys probably know of. The 222 Gallery, great gallery. We got some lore about some of the art pieces of art there. Just great pieces of art. And this is really cool. We met up in the morning with Kelly Ebling's son, who lives in India, who went to Lewis and Clark College in Oregon. That is his partner, Saruha Kilman's, that is Clay's artwork. But we also met with his partner, Saruha, who is she does these cool tapestries. It's like the water, and they hang them up, and it's just super cool. And it just, once again, different mediums, super cool. Some of this stuff I just didn't even think about could be represented as art, and it definitely changed my perspective when it came to that in a futuristic sense. Week 2, we did a lot of, visiting stuff. So we visited the Hammerfire Gallery, which is below, I believe, Mort Capital, which is another internship that was going on at the same time. So we were going to do a little, we were going to surprise them, but we didn't because we were, focused. But so we learned about kind of the process of, frames and all that. So, I mean, that's a huge industry within itself. I mean, that's the beauty of the art industry is there's just so much stuff that goes on behind it. I mean, mixed media, like music and stuff like that. I think we were going to meet with Adam Lieb, who's like this guitar player, but I think that ended up going through. We had there was a lot more planned. We still got a lot done on this internship, but definitely some stuff fell through, which sucked, but that's how it is. Met at Dovetail, which is like this cool woodworking place that works with local artists. And then we met with Colin Stice, who's like this cool film guy. He likes Ridley Scott. That's pretty much all I took away from, no, not all I took away from it, but he's a big Ridley Scott fan. So, and then Brooke Hall's there. She does some cool stuff with book bindings. So yeah. And then week 3, it was raining a lot. So I think 1 or 2 events got canceled, but we did do like some kind of homework stuff. We did a lot of research when it came to, fine art and stuff like that. But here's a really cool experience. Cesar Scher, part owner, co-owner. I don't know if she's the full owner. I don't know the owner logistics, but she has some sort of ownership with H2 and the Harmon House. Super cool experience. I mean, Dad's an architect, so I was peeping that tile. Looks pretty cool in that bathroom there. And yeah, there was, if you can see the staircase, those herons are Jake Messing. So it's kind of full circle moment there. And also some really cool blown glass in the waiting room. It's just really cool to see how they sculpt the environment around the art. I think I talked with Cesar and she was talking about how before they even built the place, they worked with an artist to create the lobby around this one piece of art. It was just really cool. So, just the whole process, learning about it, I was being enlightened. Next slide. A reflection. So reflection, yeah. I definitely learned a lot from this, before and after. I mean, obviously, I had my idea of what I was going to do before the internship. And I thought I was going to go to like Parsons Art Center, but honestly, now I think I might, I don't know. I think the JC might be the way. I don't know, because people sleep on the JC. But yeah, I also learned a lot about the industry. Obviously, I've been saying before, networking, super important skill. So I'm definitely going to prioritize that when it comes to a college, like a nice location like New York and stuff like that. Before and after, kind of rocked my world, this internship did, I learned a lot about networking and just all the different people that it goes into. Like, there's so many things that go into making one piece of art, whether that be like a big event, and it's just really cool to see all that, kind of come to fruition in this internship. So yeah. Thank you, mentors, if you're out there somewhere. Kelly, my parents, artists, Jake, Clay, teachers, community members, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys. Any questions? There's another slide with the questions, but it's whatever. Questions?
Well, again, what was your favorite moment?
Honestly, I think just if I, looking back on like individual moments, sitting down in Jake Messon's studio and flipping through his old sketchbooks from Parsons was a really cool moment. Looking at kind of, not necessarily my age, but maybe like a few years into college, kind of what he was going through creative-wise. Just kind of seeing how it's all really just comes from a passion of art. And it starts with a passion, and you have to have that passion, or else there's no point really going into it.
And are you doing art yourself now?
Yes, yeah. I do kind of a plethora of different things, but I'm exploring mediums and stuff like that, and I'm trying to get a nice little portfolio going, as one does. So yeah, big art guy.
I would just encourage you to take obviously you are, take a broad spectrum. I will share this with my son. He's an artist, he's a graphic artist now, working down in LA. And he wanted to do this until he got enrolled at UCLA and took a lot of art and had no idea he would be doing what he's doing today.
Yeah.
So
what does he do now? Or is he like just, did he go from like one type of art to another type of art, or was it just?
I'm his father. I have no idea anything about it. I'm the skip generation. His grandparents were artists, but not this
college
one.
can get complicated.
No, but I'm just saying. So I encourage you, in fact, all of you, to just look and not just limit yourself. Because if you have that passion, you will find out that there's a whole bunch of things out there you love.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening.
Okay, good afternoon. I had my junior internship at the Sonoma State Hua Lab. So first, a little bit about me. My name is Meher Demin, and I'm a junior. I play basketball and tennis at Healdsburg High, and in my free time, I like to read, write poetry, and ride horses. In the future and in college, I want to study biomedical engineering. So I interned at the Hua Lab, which is a lab that is based in Sonoma State. The principal investigator, like the head of the lab, is Dr. Lisa Hua. The lab is composed of undergraduate students who go to Sonoma State and some graduate students. It's got like a good mix. It's about 25 members. The lab's main area of focus is cancer research. Specifically, they look at mechanisms of anti-pairing in human cells and cancer cells. This is my mentor, Kieran, on the left, and then I also, Sarah was like my mentor as well. They showed me around the lab, they taught me about the lab's mission, and also around the Sonoma State University campus, all the good places to eat and stuff like that. As a lab intern, I got to go to lab meetings. I thought I wouldn't like these because they're like 3 hours long and you're sitting there, but I ended up enjoying them a lot. So one I went to was a CV and resume workshop. You brought in 25 copies of your CV and they were passed around and blind graded. And it was such a cool experience because I got a lot of valuable feedback on my CV, but I got to see these like graduate level, like tons of accomplishments, these amazing CVs that got me excited about my future and what I'm gonna do when I grow up. Another lab meeting I went to was a journal club. This was where a graduate student gave a presentation on one of the founding papers of the lab, published by Dr. Lisa Hua. And it was a really cool presentation because it wasn't like one person was talking the whole time and everyone was quiet. People were like adding on, giving feedback, and I'd never seen it in an academic setting like that before. So it was a super cool experience. Most of the work we did during the internship was photographing cells. So these pictures I have up here, 1, 2, and 4, are taken with the microscope, and number 3 is taken with my phone camera, which is what you would see when you look down the microscope. Pictures 2 and 4 are RPE1 cells. These are cells in your retina. They help you see pigment. And number 4 has got this cool green coloring because it's been dyed with this green protein that kind of helps you see the cell a little bit better. And then number 1 is a HUVEC cell. This is a human umbilical vein epithelial cell, or just umbilical cord cells. These cells are grown in the lab in cell culture dishes, and they're kept in incubators. And to take pictures of them, we'll take them outside of the incubators and we'll put them underneath the microscope. So this is what the process looked like. The technological aspect was pretty simple, but like adjusting it to get a good photo was sometimes kind of complicated. You'd put the cell culture dish on the stage of the microscope, and you'd adjust to get a good picture or a good cluster of cells, and it would be rendered up on the screen, and you'd press snap to get your picture. Something else I learned about at the lab was cell culturing. Sounds kind of fancy, but it's just the process of growing cells. Cells grow kind of like barnacles. They adhere to the bottom of the cell culturing plate, and they have something called media within them, which is like this red nutrient food that they are suspended in. A lab procedure I got to observe was splitting cells. It's when there are too many cells in one plate, it's too densely populated, so you cut it in half and you have it in 2 cell culture dishes, and you refill the media. This is something I got to watch my mentor do. Okay, some of the challenges. One big challenge was the biology. It's a college-level lab. It had some complex biology behind it, but I had a good foundation from my biology class at school, so it was pretty, after that initial learning curve, it was easy to understand the biology behind the lab. Another challenge was the manual part of the photography. In a good picture, you want the cell to be a focus, and you don't want like bubbles or debris, which there is inside of a cell culture dish. So a lot of times you're there for like a good 10 minutes just moving around the microscope stage, trying to get the perfect picture. Okay, skills I learned. The biggest skill I learned was how important communication is. Usually when people think of a lab, they think of people hunched over their desks, not talking to anybody, but it was really quite different. Everybody's research is connected, and so when you make a breakthrough, get new data, or start growing some cells, you communicate that with everybody. You're sharing supplies, and you've got to also account for your workspaces. Something more technical I learned was aseptic technique. It's an important technique to stop the spread of bacteria and viruses outside the lab. As a minor, I couldn't actually touch any of the cells, the human cells or the cancer cells, because I was at risk of infection. So I had to be really careful, spray down my gloves with 70% ethanol, and make sure, I'm being careful and following the whole procedure. And the last skill I learned was to just be inquisitive and always ask questions. Even if you have a small understanding in the nitty-gritty parts of the biology, you can find that lacking in the more technical, experiment-based part of biology. So I always ask my mentor a question, and I'd be like, Kieran, what does this mean? Kieran, tell me what is that again? And so it just made me less afraid to admit I don't know and figure out what the correct answer is. To reflect, this lab internship was an amazing opportunity. I'd like to thank Dr. Lisa Hua and Mr. Hubble, who facilitated this whole experience. In the future, I want to use the skills that I learned in cell culturing, lab skills, and aseptic technique, and I want to apply it and get some hands-on experience in the field of biomedical engineering. Currently, I'm looking for a summer internship, and I'm just really eager to get out there and continue working in the field. Thank you.
Okay, what was your favorite?
I think the first time seeing the cancer cells underneath the microscope was really cool. They were moving, which was I was not expecting.
Frightening.
Yeah, I should have included a video on the slideshow. But they're really mobile, and it doesn't look real at first, and you realize just how small of a scale it is. So yeah, that was my favorite part.
That's cool.
Thank you.
I just want to say to all three of you that it's really evident that you learned a lot and got a lot of inspiration from your experiences. And so it's really exciting for you to share that. And in your cases, it seems to have kind of cemented your desires to continue in these fields. Sometimes the opposite can happen from an internship, which is also very valuable. But it's really exciting to see you guys that this has helped you focus your energies and your thinking about your future. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course.
And if I may, before you all leave, again, thank you, students, but thank you, Mr. Hubble, and the whole staff for putting this together for our kids. Y'all don't know how valuable that is to you. Well, you may, but a lot of schools don't have this experience, but it's wonderful. And again, to the whole staff, if our principal, Mr. Danhauser, would share that with the staff, how grateful we are to them. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add that I think it's year 13, that we've been doing this. And I go to the CTE Foundation, Career Technical Educational Foundation in the county, they're trying to build a similar internship program for other high schools. There's no other high school in Sonoma County doing this. And they all look to us as a model. We've been doing it for 13 years, right? It's not old hat because Dave keeps innovating and the kids keep changing. It gets better every year. But it is something that really does distinguish our students' experience in our district from others around here. So,
and I just want to add an extra thank you to Dave for putting together the evening that the students all present and community members come. It's a big effort to coordinate all those people. And I know that it's a really exciting opportunity for many different people throughout the community who have students in the district in their families or don't. And, just to showcase all of the collaboration that's going on in the community related to the internships. And also just to see how awesome the students' experiences were over the years. I was in everything from hair salon and cosmetology internships to the marine lab to this was my second time hearing Niles's presentation. So I was in with the students who, were the art students this year. And I'm just like inspired, stoked every year. And I know I speak for probably every community member who comes in and does the evening. And it's just it's really a joy. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you guys. You don't have to stay. So yeah, thank you very much. Tiffany was actually watching, Tiffany Doherty, and she made a comment in the Zoom, just how HES was delighted to have the students, and they really made the high school very proud. So yeah. Thank you, Tiffany.
Okay, regarding public comments on non-agenda items, the public may address the board on any consent, let me try this again, on any consent action item or items not listed on the agenda. Pursuant to the Brown Act, during this period, the board cannot consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. Are there any requests for none? All right, seeing none, let's move to approval of the consent agenda. Does anyone choose to pull one to act on individually?
Moved. Nope, so moved. To approve.
So we have a move to approve from Donna and second from Ms. Velasquez. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries unanimously. Turn the page.
Speaking of art. Yeah.
Speaking of art, exactly. And again, public comments on agenda items. You may request, I think the requests are in the bag. On the board will be any item that's being heard and discussed at that time. You have a total of 3 minutes to address the board. If you wish to, please fill out a form and turn in it here. And we go to student learning, Healdsburg High School Art Department update.
I'm honored to introduce Dr. Lancaster and 3 students this evening.
Cool.
And as they make their way up here, I just want to recognize Dr. Lancaster. He has been named by the Luther Burbank Center for the Arts as an Arts Educator of the Year. He received honorable mention last night. So he was recognized last night in a ceremony, and I just want to make sure that our community understands what a gift he is to our school, our district, our community. You're going to see evidence of that tonight, and he finally was recognized publicly for that last night at LBC. So come on up.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Let's see. So I have the clicker, and I can... No, I don't. I'll ask for slides to be advanced. Hi. Great. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to present. I've got my friends with me, America, Abel, and Jojo, who are here to accompany me and speak just very briefly on some of our experiences. I keep promising them that they don't have to say anything, and then I go back on my word. I don't have party favors for you again this time. I apologize. Our request to present in February was morphed into predominantly a presentation by MBA, and I was very pleased to have an opportunity to join them with that, because one of the primary goals of ours as an art department is community and collaboration, and what better way to start than with your neighbors. And I'm also a big fan of big picture learning, so I hope their successes are being recognized and seen. We're at a really special moment right now, I think, in the Healdsburg community and in HUSD, because we have recently, almost entirely, completed our HUSD Strategic Arts Plan, which we've been working on now for a couple of years. And at the same time, the Arts and Culture Master Plan for the city of Healdsburg was adopted in 2021 and is now realizing full implementation with the hiring of an Arts and Culture Manager and the seating of the Arts Commission. The creative leadership team that was part of that process all along the way remains active as an advisory board, but we have an official wing of the city government that now is in charge of facilitating the promotion of arts and culture, creating more opportunities. The timing, the concurrence of these two plans, entirely accidental. But what is not accidental about them is that they both call for greater levels of collaboration and cooperation between the city of Healdsburg and HUSD and the other creative nonprofits in town. That was not an accident. We were a part of that process from the outset to try to make sure that the city stayed aware of the need for arts and education to remain a prominent feature of the ACMP, and on the district side to really stay focused on those community and collaboration components. Next slide, please. So the implementation of the strategic arts plan is something that has not really been talked about a great deal, although we have the Prop 28 funds coming in, and there's been a lot of discussion about how best to use those. That was the impetus for writing the arts plan, was to make sure that those funds were applied as effectively as possible. But whenever you have a change and an opportunity like this, of course, there's always the desire and a well placed one to make sure that it's being implemented in an effective way. But what goes with that sometimes on an institutional level is that one thinks, well, we've got to build the entire boat. It's got to be entirely fleshed out before we can lift a finger to start implementation. But I feel, having run this department for decades now, that there are aspects of it, of course, that we're already doing. And that we can begin to share with other campuses on the district and with the community at large. And so I felt that it was important for us to just start. That along the way, as we draft this, let's see what it looks like. Let's get into other classes and let's start making it happen. And thanks to the students that I have with me who have joined me in going to do these guest lessons at the other campuses. We've been to the junior high. We've been to Fitch Mountain. We've done about 5 classroom visits all told right now. We're hoping to get over to HES soon. And I'm happy to announce as of today that we just have a plan to go and meet with 4 or 5 more other classes at Fitch Mountain who are working on a history and science unit that is going to bring in some arts integration, and we're going to be part of that as well. Next slide, please. So I'm very proud of my students for stepping in and stepping up and helping out with this. I know it's not easy and can be a little bit nerve-wracking to step into an unfamiliar situation with kids of very different age groups and not knowing what to expect, but they have really risen to the occasion in a remarkable way. It's been a very fun experience, I think very valuable for the elementary students and for us as well, because it's a new experience, it's empowering, it's surprising and delightful and challenging and all of the things that go with that. So with that, would you mind just saying a couple of words about what the experience has been like for you?
My experience working with these kids at the FMC, I mean, as Mr. Lancaster mentioned, we also did visit the HGH, but I did not go to that one. But working on and off again with these kids at the FMC, it makes me realize that, these kids, they have so much love for the arts and they're really passionate, and seeing that young creativity spark in their eyes every single time we walk in there, oh, we're going to make clay figurines, and then next class we're going to glaze those figurines, and seeing just that spark in their eyes. And it reminds me, because I personally am an artist, and it reminds me of myself when I was younger, when I would have these same teachers from the high school. When I used to go to elementary school, I would always love it when they would come over to my elementary school and my class in order to teach me one-on-one, because then I could have something to look forward to in the future, and just like an idol or a mentor to look forward to. And it was very encouraging for me to see it. And all in all, I just love working with these kids. They might be a little scary at times, but they're very nice, and I can just see how passionate they are, and I don't know, I love working with kids, especially with them.
Next slide, please. As we have gone through writing the strategic arts plan, and as we have, thought through our projects and our focus as artists over the years, it's been very, very important to me to try to stay focused on transdisciplinary learning and on fully integrated lessons. Our goal in every project is to be as fully integrated as possible. And what that means is that it's never just, okay, we're talking about the color wheel and we're going to do a pastel assignment where we're doing color analysis, and this is going to demonstrate learning in color theory, right? It's that has a great deal of value, but it's a little bit two-dimensional. Here's an example of a common project in ceramics. Raul Bonilla, our custodian, is a great project guy who's come in and been a mentor to the students off and on. He taught us how to make olive oil. And so one of our ceramics projects recently was to do oil lamps. And so we went out and harvested a bunch of olives. We made our own olive oil, created the lamps, learned how to use them. And here's an example of an otherwise simple ceramic figurine, but it has this other component. It's a functioning oil lamp that has an underpinning of ecology, botany, science, collaboration among other people. And it's not just collaborating among teachers, it's collaborations among teachers, staff, support staff, personnel, community members, right? Everybody. And so this is a good example of a project that brings in other elements. And again, we try to do this with absolutely every project and every assignment to the greatest degree we can. Next slide, please.
That frog oil lamp is so cool. When I saw that picture, I just was hearing the story behind it because I didn't understand everything. Just seeing it there makes it even more wonderful. It's just delightful, full of vitality and beauty. I love it.
Thank you. Among the other aspects of transdisciplinary work, bringing in the arts and the sciences, bringing in community and so forth. So this was a recent exhibit at the Healdsburg Museum that we did on the exhibit was on Fitch Mountain, and so they asked us to participate, and we had to come up with something to do that had to do with Fitch Mountain. Much of my background outside of art is in soil ecology. And so I, gravitate towards the local dirt and the local environment when it comes to something like this. So we mapped Fitch Mountain in terms of its soil typologies and did a sampling of each one. The map is an accurate representation of where each soil type is. We took each one and miniaturized a soil pedon, which is the full layer of soil horizons from bedrock to topsoil. In reality, they would be much, much deeper than this, but we miniaturized them so that you could see the soil layers. And then in the upper layers, all of the clay in Healdsburg just about has a pretty good clay content. And so we sifted out and isolated clay from each one and made ceramic pieces with them. So for each of the 4 soil types on Fitch Mountain that you see, there is a ceramic piece that is made from that particular dirt, and it's a way also to get students interested in a sense of place, get students interested in local ecology and the beauty of the local environment, which we live in a really special place, and so this is a nice way to celebrate it. Next slide, please. So here's a close-up of that map. We're in the process of mapping the entire watershed of the Russian River and all 1,500 square miles of it. We're working on a map which is it's 12 feet by 6 feet, and it's the entire watershed, which is going to be done just like this with the soils in all of their accurate locations. Kind of a daunting task, but it's a labor of love. And fortunately, however, like with Fitch Mountain, it's got 4 different soil types on it. The watershed, of course, has hundreds of different regions, but the good news is there's a lot of repetition. So, for example, Josephine Loam up there that occupies a good deal of Fitch Mountain, it's all over the watershed. So I don't have to go get, hundreds of different samples. They really are identical. and at least supposedly. And so I can do a lot of, I only have to collect about 60 varieties instead of hundreds. Next slide, please.
Oh, can I ask you a question? Yes. Can you just go back one? So when you have that kind of that like gradiated color sample, is that actually a reflection somewhat of the colors of the soil?
So that's the actual dirt. So Henneke loam, my personal favorite, is up at the top of the fire trails by the water towers up there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big plug of serpentine, which is the state rock of California. It's that beautiful green stuff. It's very toxic to a lot of plants. So the manzanitas that grow up there are pretty rare species, for example, and just because it's so exciting, and I know you really care about all of that, but
no, I love all of it.
So
it's great.
The way the samples are done is the first little square is mixed with water. The swatch is dry rubbed. The darker section is mixed with acrylic gel, and then the redder bit at the end was kiln fired to 2,000 degrees and then mixed with acrylic gel and painted on. So that just gives you a sense of how the soil behaves under different circumstances.
Okay. Wow, that's so interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's Josephine loam on the left and Henneke loam on the right. Those are examples of the pieces that we made from it. They're very earthy, of course, by nature, and not very ambitious technically because the clay is not very fine. We're famous for basketry here. We're not famous for ceramics the way the Southwest is, and there's a reason for that. Our clay is very sandy, but it's all usable if you sift it and process it a little bit. The glaze is just baking soda, which we've kind of discovered recently and found it to be wonderful because it preserves the color and enhances the color of the clay, but it also gives it a glazed finish and makes it food safe and nicer looking. Next slide, please. Here's another example of an integrated assignment where instead of when we begin talking about the elements and principles of design, instead of just talking about dark and light value and doing exercises that demonstrate that learning, we integrate it into more of an activity-based project where we do design drawings for a 3D object. And since we're studying shadows, we're going to create some objects to block our own light. And so the students do design drawings for a marshmallow sculpture. They build it, we photograph it, they transfer that photograph onto a piece of paper, and then we take the charcoal that we make in the process of roasting those marshmallows and use those as the tone ground to create the dark and light value on there. The light spots are erased out. It's called subtractive painting. Beautiful, easy technique. And then the shadows are added in. So here again is a simple example of an integrated assignment where it brings in local materials, a sense of place, a physical activity, sculpture, drawing, painting, all of the above. And so again, just keeping everything as broad and integrated as possible. Next thing. We're just finishing up what we call a systemic painting right now, which is to take a global issue or a community issue, something that's not just situational, but that affects a lot of people and has multiple causes, and to analyze it heavily and to produce a painting off of it to give the students an example of the fact that there is no difference between art practice and scholarship, and to show them that there's a lot of artwork out there that is heavily driven by theory and lots of layers of cultural analysis, philosophy, politics, whatever the case may be. And we look at multiple causes, what we call multipliers that are exacerbating factors that are not necessarily the primary cause, but that complicate things, make it harder to address. We look at treatments that would like to be solutions but are not yet. And we look at the possibility of those treatments backfiring or exacerbating the problem in spite of better intentions, which we call crashes. And then we look at, well, what would it take for those treatments to become solutions? And in almost every case, what it would take is some kind of a culture shift for that to happen, which is a lesson in the fact that these things are daunting and complicated, but they're not hopeless. It's just that they're not quick either. And so the time to start is today. Next slide, please. one of the nice things about working in transdisciplinary ways is that you're always working on multiple layers. And so when a new opportunity comes in the middle of a project, you can pivot easily and integrate it. So in the middle of our systemic painting, Leo Clues came to us from the Interact Club and say, hey, the food pantry needs new window coverings. Would you guys as artists be interested in doing this? And it's like, well, we're in the middle of this. Tell me something that food is not related to in the human experience, right? So it's like, okay, well, guess what, everybody? All of your finished paintings now have a food component. Here's an example of what the students did. They did a beautiful job. And their finished paintings now are these same images, but they have written text on them, and they've brought in a few other images. It was not my plan for all of them to be predominantly food focused when we started, but we were able to pivot and make it work, and it didn't interrupt or interfere with what we were doing. It just added a really nice component to it. And this also is an example of as a department, working with the community and trying to stay focused on being connected with what's going on off campus. Next slide, please. We continue with the Empty Desk Project. This started 3 years ago at the request of the Raven Theater when they were doing a production of a book titled If I Don't Make It, I Love You, which is a collection of testimonials from school shooting survivors. And they were doing a production based on that book. They asked us to do an interactive installation that would relate to it out in town. We thought perhaps we could do it we had 106 desks to build, and we thought for one for every student killed in a school shooting since 2018. We thought perhaps we could do it in a month or two. It turned into 3 years. That's very common of the projects that we do, that we start out with grand ambitions and they get finished, but things take time. Next slide, please. The number rose while we were working on this, unfortunately. We knew it was probably going to. We finished 108 desks in November, and we set them out in front of school. It was a very short-term installation, and we wanted this to be not in relation to an incident. We wanted this to be a little bit out of the blue, because that's where these things come from. And fortunately, we had articles in the Press Democrat and in the Healdsburg Tribune that got the word out, and we generated a lot of response from the community, some positive and some intensely negative, and that was a bit of an eye-opener. I had forgotten that the Press Demo has an open comments section, and the next day one of the students showed me the comments that were coming in, and I had to call and ask them to turn the comments off that day. It was horrifying. But but we touched a nerve, and it showed us what we're up against. Next slide, please. On a happier note, the campaign for native planting continues across campus. We've received a huge amount of support from Rotary and a $1,000 grant from Sonoma Water, who came and visited and toured campus and saw our progress yesterday. It's been a battle with the heat of the summer, but we're batting at about the commercial landscape average of 80% survival, so that's pretty good. Some of the plants are a little bit nondescript when they're not blooming, and so one of the things that we wanted to do with it is that all of my ceramics students were working on ceramics picture frames, which we have put in with QR codes. And if you happen to be walking by that bush, you scan it, and it takes you to the Calscape website. Tells you more than you ever wanted to know about coffeeberry, but it's a very, very important ecological plant, even though it's not very showy, and that's true of others as well. So those plaques with the QR codes are going to start appearing more and more around campus, and hopefully we'll have things better populated pretty soon. We've got a huge amount of planting to do before the end of the year, but that's a good thing. Next slide, please. Thanks to Chris and to Lance McDonald, the fire marshal, we are one of apparently very small number of public school districts in the country that does dry fuel rocketry in collaboration with our math classes. That was a 6-year process to get that permission, and so you just don't give up. But it's been very successful and a lot of fun. My art classes have their small rockets ready to go or firing on real tiny little engines, so everything is fine. But that's been a successful project and a great deal of fun and really thrilling. When I was in high school, I was not connected to math and science, and if I had been able to shoot some rockets off, I might have developed more of an interest in physics earlier on than I did. Next slide, please. More on the community outreach. We went and did rocketry with the Boys and Girls Club, not dry fuel rocketry. These were air launches. But the kids loved it, of course, and we got to go as a group. My students helped out with teaching. We didn't know Kaysen was going to be there, but he had been there volunteering. That was cool, and so he jumped in and helped out as well. Next slide, please. Oh, jumping ahead, great. You did that on your own. But I was going to ask. That's good. After when I was presenting with Marcy, I talked about making ourselves useful to the Academy of Sciences and some of the cetacean recovery projects, and so I don't want to repeat that, but I do get to share with you how that project is going to culminate after working on it for more than 10 years. The whale vertebrae came up nice and clean after its 3 years of microbial cleaning in the garden. And we scanned it and did the 3D printing, and you all got fishing lures based on that 3D print. But then we had the issue remaining of what do we do with this thing? And I thought, well, we'll run a rod through it and mount it on something and just have it be a sculpture, and it'll be in the library or the main office or wherever. And that'll be it. But that by itself is not really all that exciting. But I thought the dragonfly fishing lures were pretty successful. So we now have an idea for what we're actually going to do with this thing. And fortunately, this summer, which I've been waiting for years through the construction, is that we have the CTE Summer Step Up program coming in. And I'm very excited to be doing construction arts again. And so here's what we're going to be doing during that week. Next slide, please. All right. So we have an intern at the welding shop who is from Marcy Becerra that's working with Scott Cavallo there. And he is in the process of making us a 6-foot by 3-foot steel hook out of steel bar. And the whale vertebrae is going to be mounted on it. The thorax is going to be a terrarium, otherwise known as a resurrection jar when it's full of water. And when we've done resurrection jars with the river projects, bringing up river mud and water, we've actually been getting some dragonfly larvae in them. So this is kind of an intertextual, integrated kind of a thing. We need an aerator for it, which calls for electricity, and the eyes are going to light up. So the wings are solar panels, or will be. And we have algae batteries, thanks to Henry Herod and Ross Fitzpatrick and Skills and Bernadette Calhoun, that we've lifted their idea for some of the power that we need. There's a radio attached to it, and it's going to be pretty striking when we finish. So this is one of our summer projects, and I'm very excited about it.
That's awesome.
It's for catching something really big. Next slide, please. We've talked about the river project already, although that's our big excitement. But, a lot of the other projects are coming in under that umbrella at this time. I did mention that, we found that there hadn't been a comprehensive atlas of the entire watershed written before. So we have taken this on as a book project. Probably going to take us 3 or 4 years, but we're mapping the entire watershed. Marcy kids are going out on a weekly basis and doing the field work to help get us started. Next slide, please. Years ago, we were working on a project down in San Francisco and kind of casting around for what to do. And in the process, we spotted on the Hyde Street Pier some Banks dories that were sitting out there deteriorating in the weather. And I asked for one, and they wouldn't give it because it was built by high school students down there. And they said, well, we auction these off. And I said, well, that's great, but you're letting it, split and crumble in the rain and sun. Why don't you lend it to us? We'll take it back up to Healdsburg and refinish it for you, and then we'll give it back. So they did. We brought it back up, refinished it. It was an interesting process because we had to stay historically accurate. No fiberglass, no silicone. It was only tar, boat sauce, coconut fiber, and copper nails. Beautiful boat. We got it fixed up really nicely and then gave it back to them, which was a little difficult because we had gotten attached to it. And since then, I've been trying to think of, an opportunity for us to build our own. But it just hasn't really come together until now when Marcy Becerra got hooked up with Rocking the Boat, and we went down there a couple of weeks ago to their boat building shop, got hooked up with them and thought, okay, this is the connection that we needed. So we bought the plans and we bought the marine grade plywood. And so we're off and running now on a 17-foot northeaster dory that we're going to build. This will come in a little bit during the summer, and then we'll jump in full tilt in the fall with whatever students are interested. I've got about half a dozen already that are ready to go. And then that will be our riverboat for some of the river projects. We may end up auctioning it off for the money to buy another one, or we'll see. Next slide, please. These are just examples of the placement of the screens: Boys and Girls Club, Senior Center, Wellness Center, and hopefully then eventually into banks and real estate offices and things like that. Oh, we just got a kind of a commission from one of the hotels in Healdsburg to do screens in just about every room for the river project, so that's a huge boost for this project. Next slide. You've seen what it looks like when the Marcy kids go out and do the field work. This is what they're gathering: soil samples, water temperature, plants, animals, and soil mapping. Next slide, please. We talked about this last time. This is analyzing the hyperhaic zone of the river's understory, looking for microbial life and microscopics and so forth, and really getting into some of the situational science of the river. Next slide. Keep going, please. Keep going. All right. So anyway, this gives you an idea of what we're talking about when we talk about transdisciplinary integrated projects, specifically in the context of the strategic arts plan for the district. This is what we're trying to bring to other classes, to other campuses, to the culture of education within HUSD. And in some ways, it's an easy thing to do because everything is connected to everything else. It just is a matter of getting started and being open to possibilities and opportunities as they arise. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your listening, and thank you to my colleagues who have joined us today. Any questions while we're here?
I was curious about which of these projects each of you was working on, or can you just really quick?
I guess one of the projects I've worked on was with the elementary school, trying to push it out there. It's kind of nice to see the kids with their creative minds fully out in these structures and what they build. And the other project I remember was rockets, which I did in my freshman year. We did it twice. For one at the end of the year where we made these little rockets and we would pump into them, make them go up, see how high we could make it go.
Very cool. Thank you.
For me, some of the projects that I was involved, obviously, I've spoke on this before, the FMC, visiting the kids, doing the clay figures with them. I was also a tiny part of the river project, but I mean that by just a little bit of community service, lots of hours of community service. And just seeing like what they've been doing all around the campus and everything, especially the desks projects to honor the school shooting victims. I think that was really impactful, and I know a lot of people who were involved in that project, and I think it was impactful for everybody.
Thank you.
I'm
We're pretty friendly up here.
It's okay. I don't mind. I mean, I also did like the one when we went to the FMC to work with the kids. I really like doing that because, like, I mean, I do like working with kids, and like, it was really fun just like helping them, make the clay things. I'm also doing the systemic issue thing currently. It's a really fun project. A little time consuming, but it's still really fun.
Awesome. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice job.
And I will just say that's just part of what Mr. Lancaster does. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Linus.
You have 2.5 minutes, please.
I'll do it. Do you want to announce the?
Oh, thank you. Sorry. I'm substituting.
Yeah.
C.
It's that C, 11-1C, Healdsburg High Advanced Placement Government Curriculum.
Yeah, so this
Dr.
is.
Finn.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. This is the season where we bring to you new curriculum purchases that we'd like to make in order to order things over the summer, so we're all ready for next year. As is the case, we always make sure that we have a thorough review, that the teachers are involved. It's really the teachers who select the texts, not me. So our first up tonight is the AP Government text, Timely. A lot of the AP text adoptions are driven by changes in the exam, right? We need to make sure that we have a textbook that is aligned to the new exam that the College Board provides. And so we started our process actually last year, and we were waiting to see what was going to happen with the presidential election. We didn't want to buy last year. We want to make sure we could get the most up to date. We're kind of up against the back here of where the exam has changed and we need to purchase a book. So we're going with a book selected by Dr. Perez. He couldn't be here tonight, but he wanted to let you all know that he appreciated the time he was given. So this is a first reading of the new AP Government text. This will cost us roughly $10,000. There are 2 sections of AP Government generally every year. So that would provide a text for every student enrolled, and along with a test bank and online materials. The nice thing about the online materials is that they're updated annually. So as things change in our government, that material is updated. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. We're
Any questions?
That.
All right, moving on to D, Healdsburg High Advanced Placement Literature Curriculum, Dr. Fender.
No, I think we're discussing all this.
We'll bring these back on consent.
Consent, yeah.
Yep.
So, if you wanted to come in and review, I have a sample book in the district office and also at the high school. Yeah, if you wanted to take a look at it, yeah. Advanced Placement Literature and Composition, it has been some time. Mr. Linker was the longtime teacher of this course. We have Sharon Pollock teaching the course this year, and so she wanted to get a year under her belt in order to understand the breadth and depth of the course, to understand the exam. So she has worked with John Weller, who's our assistant principal, and also has taught AP Literature for many, many years before becoming an administrator, so they collaborated. One of the fun things that we're going to be doing with our AP English classes is switching to a rotation, just like we do with science. And so we generally have 2, sometimes 3 sections of either AP Lit on one year and AP Lang on the other year. They're not sequential courses. They're not designed. Generally, AP Literature is taught in the 11th grade and AP Lang is taught in the 12th grade, but they're not concurrent. And many schools offer both of those courses to either 11th or 12th graders. Ben Gunter and Sharon Pollock have each taught those courses. So what we're going to do is we're going to offer AP Literature to any 11th and 12th grader next year. So AP Lang will not be offered next year, and we'll go on a 2-year rotating, just like we do with AP Chem and AP Physics. What that allows us to do is to have more sections. It gives us more room in the master schedule. So instead of having 2 classes of AP Lit and 2 classes of AP Lang, and those are the only 2 sections where they're offered, we'll now have 4 sections in the master schedule where students could take these courses. So there are times where students' schedules are so impacted that they want to take all these classes, but AP Lang is the same time as AP Art and AP something else, and they just can't get into it. This also will allow for us to have 2 teachers collaborating. So it gets lonely, we have a lot of teachers who they're the only person teaching that class. And so the English department's very excited about having both Sharon Pollock and Ben Gunter teaching this class in collaboration together. And so they'll teach this class together, AP Lit this year, and then offer AP Lang next year. So this allows us, the cost is roughly $13,000. It is also more than 2 sections. We're 3, maybe 4, depending on the number of kids. The book isn't quite as expensive because it's a reader. There's not as much robust online curriculum. So even though we'll get more of it, it's not quite as expensive. Any questions about that text?
No questions. All right, moving on to E, renewal of TCI for Healdsburg High School History and Social Science.
So we adopted TCI back in 2019. That was the last time that there was a major curriculum update for history, social science in the secondary grades. In between now and then, there's been a new framework. TCI is a curriculum that Superintendent Vandenhoevel used to teach out of. It's stood the test of time. It is a small textbook. It's a small reader with a lot of not investigations. How would you describe it? A lot of role playing, a lot of
So there's simulations. There's a lot of primary sources, both visual and text. So it really makes history come alive for the kids. I used it in the late '90s, early 2000s, and it's only improved. So.
Yeah. So we had a 6-year adoption back in 2019. We knew that this was coming up, so I asked our 4 history social science teachers, can we do a review? And they said, we'll do a short review, but we really like TCI, and they've taught from it from a long time, and it has a very robust online component. The text, like I said, is very small. It does meet all of the requirements. For example, the FAIR Act, in which the instructional materials are aligned with LGBTQ history, identified in the framework that was revised. So it meets all of the requirements in terms of state law. So what we're asking for is a 6-year renewal. So this would give us 6 years of online material renewed, and any updates then that come at a cost of $27,600. So that's a fully packaged cost. So there wouldn't be any additional fees beyond this for 6 years for history.
So our student trustee sent us notes on various items, and he recommended this TCI a lot.
Great, that's good to
hear.
hear.
He was very enthusiastic
Excellent.
about that.
Yeah, our teachers really like it. They're like, do we have to look at something else? I'm like, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, look at something else. But yeah, this was a pretty easy decision.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Any questions? All right. No, it's a discussion.
Discussion.
Moving to F, contract with Elevo for after-school enrichment. This is an action item.
Yeah. So we have been blessed with additional funds from the state, the ELOP, right, the Extended Learning Opportunities funds. We have had, a lot going on. We've got the after-school program with the city of Healdsburg. We have the summer program with the summer camp. Our teachers provide tutoring after school, K through 6, that we use this funding for. We've also done things with Playwell Technologies to increase robotics opportunities and other arts and enrichment opportunities that the principals have organized with their staff. We're kind of at the point locally where we're at our max in terms of what the city can provide and what our principals can put together and offer with our internal staff. But we still have additional funding. And so I went out shopping and trying to find other organizations that could provide high quality programs, found Alivo. They work in a number of other districts around our region, providing after-school enrichment. So some of the districts that don't have a partnership with the city of Healdsburg, the Boys and Girls Club, for example, have used Avelo for many years for after-school programming. So we did some vetting, talked to a couple of other companies about what they could provide, and decided to go with Alevo. And so you'll see tonight, we intend to partner with them for 2 projects. The one here in front of you right now is to expand after-school enrichment programming. And so Alevo would hire coaches for us and be at HES on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then at FMC on Tuesdays and Thursdays. One of the strengths of Avelo is everything that they do is with an SEL lens. So they bring sports activities, they bring arts activities, they bring STEM activities, but it's all grounded in supporting some social emotional learning. So any student that is at our ACES program and wants to participate in one of the Avelo enrichment opportunities can pull out for that hour and a half, and then go back to the after-school program. So depending on what's going on, if they want to play basketball with after-school ACES, or they want to go over and do whatever the activity that Avelo has for that day, they can do that and go back and forth. The nice thing about what Avelo is going to do too is that students who are not involved in the after-school program can come to just this and then leave. So we get that mixing, kind of like you've talked about Trustee McAllister, you've been appreciating for your own child. So we've contracted for them for the first half of the year. That's what this is. This is a little taste, right? This is just for the first semester of the year. And if we like the services, then we would expand from there and come back to you with an extended contract. But this is just locking us in for the first half of the year for the after-school programming.
Next school year.
Next school year, yeah, 25-26, exactly.
Any questions?
So this is an action item because we want to get things in
approval.
place. Yeah.
A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Don't leave.
No, I'm here. I'm here for a couple. Yeah.
You're here for the next hour and a half.
I hope
Let's
not.
see. So update on the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program plan.
So these funds, the ELOP funds, became available to us 3 years ago, and that's when we brought together a plan. And that plan for the ELO program really was very similar to what you saw in the ACES plan. Adding the summer program, right? One of the requirements of using this funding is that we provide at least 30 days of summer programming. So we have our summer school program, and then we also partner with the city of Healdsburg to provide really scholarships for students to attend the summer camps with Club H that's orchestrated by the city. It's time. The CDE wants an update to our plan. So it's been 3 years. We're required to provide an update to the plan every 3 years. So it's good that you guys just approved that contract, because in the plan that's in your packet is me talking about us expanding our partnerships in order to provide more opportunities for more students. So really it's a compliance document at the end of the day where we've taken what we talked about with ACES and then started to include the work that we're going to do with Avelo. So this is just
Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Okay, seeing none, we move on to H, contract with Alevo for arts education for Prop 28 funds.
Yeah, so as Dr. Lancaster mentioned, we've been engaged in about 1.5 years of conversations trying to come up with the best use of Prop 28. It's a very complicated formula of funding, and we're finding out new things every day, honestly. And we want to expand arts education in the elementary, but we have a limited amount of money that we can do it with as we know now. It's roughly $65,000 annually, which isn't enough to hire our own art teacher. There may be some changes in the way that this money can be spent, but it seems like for now, what we know, this will be the best way to ensure additional arts programming and spend the funds while we have it and while we continue to work on the arts plan, right? That's not a fully baked plan, but we don't want to wait until we have a fully baked plan to sit on this funds, right? We want to spend the money while we can. And so Avelo will be similar to the after-school program, bringing coaches in We have visual arts programming at both HES. Harvest Nieto provides visual arts enrichment at HES, and then we have Levi providing cartooning, a visual arts program and enrichment at FMC. But we currently don't have dance, theater, or music. Thank you. In our enrichment offerings. And so Avello is going to focus on those 3 domains of the arts. So their programming, again, that they do all over the state. It's a company that's based out of Southern California, but they have a big footprint here in the North Bay. And so their coaches will provide dance, theater, and music twice a week at each site, where their coaches will push into our classrooms. Our teachers will be present. Part of the Prop 98 requirements is that a certificated teacher must be present. So it's a little bit of a PD in a way, because the teacher can be planning and answering emails and getting some work done, but is also in the room listening and hearing what's going on, right? They can't leave the room. They need to be there with the fellow coaches. So both providing service, a little bit of time for teachers, but also, hopefully they'll pick up a few things. So they might be able to use that through some arts integration and make connections with the regular curriculum, the core curriculum that they're doing. So again, this
how often?
Twice a week at each site. Right. Thank you. Yeah, the way the schedule will work is that
They come twice a week, but they come to each class once a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. No, it's good.
And that's 45 minutes. So for each student, it'll be one 45-minute lesson, and they'll have like rotating subject matter.
6 weeks, right? 6 to 8
Okay,
weeks.
6
right?
to 8
6 to 8
weeks
of dance, 6 to 8 weeks of theater, 6 to 8 weeks of music. So this takes us from September to February is with the programming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so September to February, and then there's like a time at the end of the year where they're not.
We might be doing other things, right? We wanted to see how this goes. They could add another unit. We could say we want to do something else, but it was a way to get things going, but not tie us in for the entire school year.
Cool.
And you're saying their fee is $65,000?
This is $55,000.
55.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 55 of the 65 that we've been getting annually for, this is the second year, right? We didn't
28.
spend any of the 65,000 last year at all. So we're sitting on funds that
Don't tell Linus.
we want to, and that's the other thing, as
He's
far
on
as
the
we know
committee.
it right now, these funds can only be spent, they're by site, right? So, and then
Gotcha.
HJH and HHS have their own allotment. So for example, the theater section at the high school and the junior high is being paid for by Prop 28 funds right now. So when we add new arts programming, we're using Prop 28 funds.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I feel like I should have asked this question at an earlier time.
That's
So
okay.
if you don't know, that's cool. But is there any obligation through the proposition money to provide the services throughout the school year, or is it adequate to just provide from
Yeah,
from August
as long
until-
as it's new.
or
and it's-
September to February?
Yeah, as long as it's new, there's no, some places are doing it just for half the year, right? And it's on a wheel, like they may do PE for half the year and art for half the year in their school.
Right,
for
and you can
example.
even use it for field trips and special events too, right?
Yeah, but it's really limited. You're supposed to use
Okay.
80% of the funds on hiring HUSD staff. And so
Okay.
that's even like, we're going to have to ask, once you guys approve this, I'm going to have to go to the CDE and ask for a waiver to spend funds to hire an outside consultant. So only 20% of the funds is supposed to be used for supplies, field trips, those kind of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Erin.
Yeah. So we could ask for additional waiver funds, but we also want to leave ourselves open to doing other things as we're developed with this arts plan, as you well know, right? We're still working on all that. Yeah.
And judging by Principal McGuire's coordination here, this is all copacetic with the schedules and everyone's, okay.
Yeah, it's been complicated, but we're going to make it happen. They're going to make it happen. Yeah.
Any other questions? May I have a motion for approval? And can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. And moving on to I, College Career Access Pathways Agreement with Santa Rosa Junior College for 2025-26. 2026.
So this is known as CCAP. So what you're going to hear instead of dual enrollment and articulation agreements, you're going to hear CCAP. So CCAP is new legislation, a new funding source from the Chancellor's Office for community colleges to get better at partnering with K-12 to do articulation and dual enrollment. We've been lucky because I've been knocking on that SRJC door, my entire career. So you can think of CCAP as dual enrollment and articulation. That's what you all know it as in the past. One of the big changes, though, with this is that the junior colleges are becoming more strict about our teachers teaching their courses. So right now, we currently have a handful of courses. Culinary is one of them, auto. We had ag, but ag got pulled from us, where our teacher would teach the course according to the JC outline, give an exam, and our students would earn the credit. JC doesn't like that anymore. There's a lot of reasons. Part of it has to do with financial. They don't collect the ADA. Another reason is it's not their staff teaching the job. So there's been a shift in the last year, and so we're doing our best. What you have in here is that we have agreements to host an SRJC teacher on the high school campus to teach ethnic studies. Teach ASL. Let me back up. We'll teach ASL 1 in the first semester and ASL 2 in the second semester. That will be taught by a JC teacher on our campus. Ethnic studies, there is a preliminary agreement. It's on here. We all want to make this a go, but SRJC has told us that they have not been able to hire enough staff for the amount of demand that there is for this. So right now, it's kind of in a holding pattern until they get staff. So we're not working on scheduling kids into this right now. At best, what they're telling me is that it may be a synchronous online course. And so that means that a teacher who's living anywhere could teach it. Exactly. We're not thrilled about this. So I don't want to make any promises, if students or families here who are going to have ethnic studies through the SRJC, it's tenuous right now in terms of ethnic studies. I'm giving it a 50-50 as to whether this one's going to get landed or not. But we're going to go ahead. They've approved the MOU on their side. This is signed. They're doing their best to fill and find the teacher. If they land it, we're going to hustle and try to get kids enrolled. If not, we're going to have to wait another year until they can staff up for it.
This is not the only ethnic studies that we're offering. This is just the dual.
Good question. And so quickly, I think that's worth addressing is our 9th graders will continue to take our course. This is for students who are like, whoa, that lit my fire. I want to take a college course about that. And so we could take this as a sophomore, probably more likely a junior or a senior. Yeah. And then there's 2 more courses. Elementary statistics, and it's not like elementary school, it's beginning statistics. One of the other offerings that the JCs are giving is if our faculty meet their minimum hiring requirements, our faculty can apply to be an adjunct faculty member with SRJC and teach the course. So Bernadette Calhoun actually has taught statistics at the SRJC in a previous part of her career, so she meets the minimum hiring qualifications and is going through the process right now to be hired as adjunct faculty. So we have our statistics class, right? We've had stats for a long time. What this will do is allow Bernadette to, in our course, embed the SRJC content that they require. And if our students pass that class with Ms. Calhoun, they will pass the SRJC class. It is not a credit by exam because Calhoun meets their minimum hiring qualifications. She's acting as a faculty member. On part of the JC on our campus.
Also an employee of our district? Is she only an employee? How does
it's another really complicated question. So she will be paid by SRJC for that period of the day, and we will short her check from us for that amount that she gets paid. It's a very complicated maneuver. CBO is loving this. They're doing it in other places.
She doesn't lose a thing, though, but that's important to understand, right? She'll be paid the same just by 2 different places.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it won't affect
Debbie
her
and Cindy
STIRS.
get
It won't
gray
affect
hair.
her retirement. She's full-time in the eyes of SRJC, full-time in the eyes of the STIRS. But she'll get a check from SRJC as an adjunct would, right? But adjuncts don't get anything out. They don't get health care. They don't get, they're not tenure track, right? They get money and that's it. And so there's some paperwork that needs to be done. And they're doing it in West County, and I've connected Debbie with the West County CBO to figure this out. And Ms. Calhoun is very aware of how this is going to work. So I was, very transparent. What's that? Yeah, one more. So Counseling 6, this is an introduction to career development. This is going to be for MBA. So you may remember I wrote a grant, and we have an early college career counselor. So we have an early college career counselor named Savannah Hemphill, who's spending about 15 to 20 hours working with both MBA and Healdsburg High students to help them understand what SRJC courses can they take, either online or at the JC. In our relationship with Savannah, she said, I'm faculty at SRJC. Like, she only works for us 10 to 20, max 20 hours. Her real job is a counselor at SRJC. And so she and John Weller worked out this great idea that she'll teach Counseling 6 on our campus to the MBA students as a faculty member of SRJC. So it doesn't cost us a dime. And she'll be with our MBA students for that first semester. If it goes well, it's possible that we could then add Counseling 50 in the second semester, but we're going to get this started for next year in the first semester.
So when you say Counseling 6, that is the topic of the class, or she's providing a counseling?
The course is named Counseling 6. It's Intro to Career Development is the class. Yeah. And it's a standard beginning JC class. Like, they really want.
They try to get every freshman to take it. Yeah, you do like vocational inventory type stuff and personality, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And we're really trying to work on more of our MBA students taking JC classes. So not only being part of an internship program, but also taking JC classes. So some kids may say, internship's my thing, and I'm going into that deep, and I'm going to spend more time. We may have other students that say, I want to do internship, but what I'm finding in my welding internship is I need a welding certificate. So I'm going to continue to intern for a bit, but I'm going to start taking welding classes at the JC as well. And we actually have a student that's doing that right now. Cosmetology, floral design. We have a handful of MBA students who are going down to the JC in large part because of the work that Savannah Hemphill has done with them. Yeah.
Well, you've obviously put a lot of energy and effort into this, and I want to express my appreciation.
Thank you. Yeah.
And that said, do we have a motion for approval?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Can I suggest adjustment to the agenda? I would like to move the new Healdsburg High course, which is M, 11.1 M. So Tate's here for that, and Louisa needs to go to bed, I'm sure.
Or Tate does.
Yeah, or Tate does. Louisa, you're being amazing sitting here for this whole thing. So if we could do that and then maybe take the break, and then we can pick back up at the Day of the Teacher. Does that work?
Any objections to that? All right, moving to 11.1 M, new Healdsburg High School course.
Yeah, so this is a little bit in the 11th hour, right? We don't like bringing courses forward to you this late in the year. But again, in the spirit of trying to spend all the Prop 28 funds as best as we can, we have figured out that we can. John Chevalier is open to teaching a new course next year. And so given his background, his specialty, he has a CTE credential, but he also is credentialed to teach arts classes, to teach VPA courses. So for example, his digital media courses, students can get both visual and performing arts credit or CTE credit. So this is a course that John Chevalier would like to teach next year. We can use Prop 28 funds to make it happen because it's a new course. And I'm going to let Principal give us a little more information here.
Dr. Danhausen, please. No, I'm just kidding. Really, please don't ever call me that. But yeah, no, so John Chevalier is going to be teaching social media and marketing for us next year. We're really excited about this course and the applicability it has to our students. In all honesty, we've taken this course, it is taught across the state, and so we've looked at a number of different ways of teaching it, kind of landed on this one. I think it was from Milpitas is where this description came from, and just excited about students being able to engage in a way that they haven't so far. Are we talking about audio today also? No, because that's
Audio
we
exists.
already have audio, but it is coming back. And I can answer any questions you have about it, but we've spoken with Chev. We've begun to talk to students about it, and honestly have a lot more interest in this course than we do in our broadcast journalism course that we currently offer, and just think students are going to be able to dive in ways that they haven't so far.
So I know later we're talking about our wellness plan, and one of the things that we've been focused on is trying to do better marketing of our school lunch. I'm not kidding.
No.
Like marketing and
That's not a terrible
promotion
idea.
and like really
Cross-pollination.
focus on the wonderful things that are happening
Right.
with our nutrition services. And I would love to put these things together
Well,
because
Niles can do the graphic design,
Yeah.
and these kids can do the marketing.
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, and you've seen, I mean, as Chev comes in videos and brings his team of students, right? He's really into putting these kids to work. So if you have a job for them, I think that would be a great way to kick some things off in terms of real life projects that need to be done. Yeah.
Awesome.
Any
So
questions?
We will bring it on consent next month for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Get Louisa home.
So adjusting the schedule once more, instead of going back to and or taking a break, do we have a HADA report? So you don't have to hang out with us all evening, unless you want to.
And Josh could do his public comment as part of the HADA report if you want to do that too. Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Three things. I like to work in threes. The RIF notices pretty much were rescinded, thanks to Chris, Tate, and Karen, right? We worked all together, and all but point 2 of the certificated RIFs have been rescinded. Correct, Chris, right? Officially, yes. Yes, thank you. And although, the outcome was positive, right? I do believe, or HADA believes, that we could have avoided some extra cost and time amongst personnel, myself, Karen, lawyers involved, Mr. Chevalier, so forth. And my proposal would be that, perhaps we should aim for February 15th as to staffing. And that way we don't run into this, well, we can always decide by May, because all this stuff kind of, and I talked about this in the last board meeting, all this stuff kind of gets in motion with teachers' certificate rights, CTA, and so forth. And things happened, right? And there was a lot of work that happened over spring break and so forth. Number 2, negotiations. Although we accomplished quite a bit over our only 2 days of negotiation so far, checking off a lot of boxes because we have a full contract open this year. The HADA team, negotiating team, was not happy with the, quote, not interested response to changing the benefits cost structure, okay? Just a sec, I have something for you. So I'm a spreadsheet guy. I just printed out my spreadsheet that shows what the current way the district contributes to benefits, and then our proposed, and you can see the proposed is highlighted where it's in gray. I've highlighted a few things. Number 1 is that currently for an employee getting good benefits, something like my father got when he worked at General Motors, the district currently only pays 35%, and the employee has to pay 65% of those benefits for a family. And that's what my father got as a General Motors employee, and that's what I considered good benefits. Okay? If you turn the page, you'll see that the difference with the current employees who they've signed up for, if everyone stayed the same with what they chose this year, it would cost the district $325,000 roughly extra by going with our new structure. And that's why we were a little disappointed that there was the answer was not interested. Okay, not interested in even discussing or negotiating. So our members are very interested in having this change. So, and last year when we brought this up, the response was, well, we have to assume that everyone switches to the family plan. So turn the page and you can see the next highlight, that if everyone, I changed my spreadsheet to everyone was in a family plan, the total cost to the district would be about $800,000 or $800,000 or so. It's highlighted. So I put everyone, all 83 HADA employees or certificated employees on the family plan. Now we know that we have single people who are not going to sign up for family plan. So that's not even realistic. Okay. So we would like to see that it's not a not interested response, that it's negotiations, and that maybe it's not exactly the 100%, 90%, 80%, but that's what negotiations is. And that's what, I'm not sure if you're aware of what happened during negotiations as a school board. And number 3, you just saw the worst case scenario happens to be within just a few $1,000s of the Ed Code 41372 shortfall that SCO had, that the district had proposed, you had approved and signed off on that we didn't meet the requirement, and we got an exemption, or the district got an exemption through SCO. I met with, and Chris was there, I met with the superintendent of the county school, and I'm out there, and I argued my case that that law, that Ed Code, is for, the exemptions are for serious financial hardship. And I pointed out to the superintendent that I don't believe that the 25% reserve average over the last 5 years is considered a serious financial hardship. And I didn't believe that the buck stops with her, Amy Carter, the superintendent, that I told her, I don't believe that you should have signed that. That we are, as HUSD, we're not in serious financial hardship, okay? I presented my data. They listened, which was great. We had a great conversation. So, and I am saying to you as a school board that I don't think you should approve that exemption going and then perhaps having her not signing the exemption, okay? So that $800,000 that we were short paying towards Ed Code 4372 would pay for the entirety of the health benefits structure change. So that is something that for you to think about over the next few months, because I think it's September is when you actually apply for that Ed Code change. So, all right, thank you.
Hey, Mike, can I clarify that the negotiations issue? I had to ask, as I understood it, was a soft cap where it would be a set percentage that the district would contribute no matter the cost of the healthcare plans.
Yes,
and that discussion, the district said we're not interested in a floating cap. We would definitely talk about a hard cap number that could be increased. Is that accurate?
But as HADA negotiating team, we want to not be chasing this all the time. Okay, we want to make this a shared cost. And I understand, and Chris and the district side proposed and said, well, we aren't interested in having our costs increasing every year as the health benefits goes up. Well, the employees also are faced with that situation, right? Every year we are faced with, okay, the health insurance is going to go up. And what we want to do is put an end to this chasing the dog kind of thing and saying, okay, we'll just bump up the healthcare a little bit, do this a little bit and fix this. If we can set it up as a set percent, then that's kind of goes away as a negotiating. I mean, those percents can be negotiated slightly, but the structure is changing, and that's what we're chasing after, and that's what we're pursuing. I have met with many of our members. I've gone to our sites, and spoke with my members. And my members I have not yet had a person say that they're not in support of doing this as part of our negotiations. So
Yeah, I just want to make sure it was clear. There, it was the
It is
soft
clear.
cap, hard cap, not putting money towards benefits.
No, it's right. It's right. But what we're trying to do is resolve the chasing it always, right? We're always going to chase it and just bump it up a little bit more and bump it up a little bit more. We want to make it so it's a structure that, and that's why I said it's a change in benefit structure, cost structure, is what we proposed was 100% for an employee, 100% of Kaiser Wellness that could be applied anywhere for the employee, for a single employee, 90% for employee plus one of Kaiser Wellness, then you could apply towards whatever health insurance you want, or 80% of Kaiser Wellness for a family that you could then apply to whatever health insurance you want. And that's what the spreadsheet shows. If you want to look down and kind of look at my work there, you can see that the shaded numbers are the proposed numbers. Okay?
Yeah, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
And then Josh had, just in the interest of time, he had a public comment coming for the wellness plan, but he is a PE teacher and he is part of HADA, so I think it fits.
Perfect. Well, it's going to surprise you what I'm going to talk about today, Chris. So just heads up. School board members, my name is Josh Kavanaugh, and I currently serve as the head of the physical education department at Healdsburg High School, the athletic director, and the vice president of the union. I'm here to address the proposed revisions to the district wellness plan. I commend the district's effort to update this important document. As it stands, the plan mandates that elementary students receive at least 200 minutes of physical education every 2 weeks, not including recess or lunch, in accordance with Education Code Section 51223. However, our district currently lacks a full-time physical education teacher at the elementary level. Students receive physical education enrichment for only 1/3 of the school year for just 1 hour a week. The remaining minutes fall on elementary classroom teachers. Elementary classroom teachers receive just 1 hour of prep time per week. Elementary classroom teachers receive 1 hour per week, often requiring them to work beyond contracted hours to maintain high instructional quality. A full-time elementary physical education teacher would alleviate them of physical education requirements and increase teachers' available prep time. I began my career as a physical education teacher, a physical education enrichment teacher at HES in 2018, and have since been advocating for a full-time elementary physical education position. The need is clear. When students arrive at the high school level, many lack basic locomotor skills, non-locomotor, and manipulative skills, often due to the absence of consistent early physical education instruction. This gap disproportionately affects students from lower income families who may not have access to organized athletics. Adding a full-time elementary physical education teacher would ensure compliance with state mandates, provide needed prep time for teachers, support positive classroom behavior, improve student health, and promote academic achievement as highlighted in studies referenced in our own wellness plan. I urge you to consider this investment in our students' health and equity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I can confirm he advocates. But yeah, that was supposed to be with the wellness plan, so a little bit of context. Thanks, Josh.
Am I allowed to ask a question? Or is this
I have
like
a
public
question
comment?
as well.
Okay.
You could ask me the question during the wellness. I mean, if it's a quick clarification, but yeah, we're not supposed to have a big discussion on the reports. But I mean, if it's quick, it's not a big deal.
A question for clarification.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know if reports qualify as public comment. Oh, this is a public comment.
Yeah.
Great. I'm not going to ask my question right now. I have some questions.
I'll stay until that point.
We know where to find him. Yeah.
Do you want me to, can I
You don't have,
come
you
back
can
and
stay.
talk?
Yeah, you can come back up. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'll stay and answer questions.
Okay, we'd like to take a 10-minute break or 7-minute break, return at 8:25, please.
Get the shout outs that they deserve in society in general, right? So it's a nice time when we can recognize them. I'm going to read to you the resolutions. The first one is California Day of the Teacher Proclamation. So whereas by nature, California teachers are proven leaders in bringing inventive practices and creativity into their classrooms every day, And California has produced the thinkers, the scientists, the inventors, the technicians, and the engineers that have led our state to become the 8th largest economy in the world. And California teachers have many extraordinary skills that they pull from to reach and teach students. And California teachers fill many roles as listeners, explorers, role models, motivators, mentors. California teachers work to open students' minds to ideas, knowledge, and dreams, and have protected and given their lives for their students. And California teachers have advocated for and currently provide the public education all students deserve, and that California teachers continue to influence as long as our school days are only memories. That California owes much of its success to its public schools, colleges, and universities that produce scholars, thinkers, and an educated workforce. Therefore, be it resolved that the Healdsburg Unified School District Board of Trustees hereby acknowledges the contribution of all dedicated teachers, and do hereby proclaim May 14th, 2025 as the Day of the Teacher in our district.
Are there any comments, questions?
I really appreciate honoring teachers every day, but I'm glad to do it this one day. Having been a teacher myself and having a extremely fulfilling career, yeah.
Would you like to make a motion?
Sure. So I move that we support them.
And I would like to second that as a former teacher myself. And all those in favor?
It's a reso.
So it's a roll call.
It is?
Yep. It is.
It is a
It
resolution.
sure is.
We
My
each get to
bad.
say aye on this one.
Exactly.
Please.
Vice President Potmissel.
Aye.
Trustee McAllister.
Aye.
Trustee Velasquez.
Yes.
Trustee Del Rey. Thank you.
Okay. Teachers get the day. The classified employees get a week. Don't ask me why. It's just the way it is. We value them both
I can explain
equally
that to
highly.
you.
But so this is the classified school employees, and you know, again, these are folks that are often overlooked, right? They're the first people kids see in the morning, maybe the last people they see in the evenings when they're leaving. They keep us safe by cleaning and performing all kinds of duties, and then they do all kinds of things. Like Dave Hubble, he's a classified employee, the work-based learning coordinator. So they're teachers in a lot of ways too. Whereas all schools in the Healdsburg Unified School District shall annually observe the third full week in May in recognition of the classified school employees and the contributions they make to the educational community. Classified school employees provide valuable services to the schools and students of Healdsburg, contribute to the establishment and promotion of a positive instructional environment, and play a vital role in providing for the welfare and safety of the Healdsburg schools students. And the classified school employees employed by the Healdsburg Unified School District strive for excellence in all areas relative to the educational community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the HUSD District Board of Trustees hereby recognize and wish to honor the contribution of classified school employees to quality education in the state of California and in the Healdsburg schools, and proclaims May 19th to May 23rd as Classified School Employees Week.
Are there any comments?
And they make olive oil in the art class.
They do, yeah.
Which was really cool.
I would like just to make the comment, I've said this before, that if you think of a school system as the old brick school building, it's always been my belief that the teachers are the bricks. But as the classified employees that are the cement, the glue that holds it all together.
Mortar.
The mortar, and the mortar. If you want to continue, thank you for your help. Contract of ending you. Anyhow, therefore, I would like to move to approve this resolution 2528, honoring our classified employees.
And I'll second.
And Arezzo.
Vice President Potmissel.
Aye.
Trustee McAllister.
Aye.
Trustee Velasquez.
Aye.
Trustee Del Rey. Aye. Thank you.
And going to I, we have the revision to Healdsburg Unified School District Wellness Plan. Not yet.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm here to talk for about half hour. Just wanted to prepare you.
That's fine.
Okay.
Just
good.
take your time.
All right. All right. You know me? Does everybody know Miss Leanne over here? Our wonderful supervisor of the nutrition department. And we are here to talk a little bit, real briefly, about the wellness plan. So back in 2017, is when the wellness plan was first board adopted, and it has not been revised since. And so we are bringing a revision to you today. And so you have in your packet the draft, as well as some goals from the CDE of what should be in the wellness plan. And just wanted to share with you some of the revisions. We condensed some of the information, made it a little bit more easier for people to read. And we, again, also updated the content to meet the Ed Code and national and state standards. And now we're ready, once it's hopefully approved by you tonight, we will bring this to, I've already talked to leadership briefly about it, but I want to bring it back to leadership and then implement it at all the sites and create subcommittees at sites and really start implementing it. And please know that this is a working document and that we know that each year the District Wellness Committee will come together to review it. We know that nutrition will always be a topic of growth, and there are other topics that parents would like to discuss further, and we know that we encourage more parent involvement. And I think that is really all I wanted to say. Any questions? We realize,
surprise, right?
We realize.
I understand I
Mr.
have a
Kavanaugh-
reputation in this district for.
We realize, as Mr. Kavanaugh pointed out, that the physical activity may not be being implemented.
No, I mean, I absolutely believe that kids have to have PE every day, and that if you want to foster academic learning, those kids have to be outside playing. And they need to be learning those skills, those not just the ball handling skills and the equipment skills and the games, but also it is sportsmanship, but when I was an elementary school teacher, I taught PE every day. And one of the things that we did was we talked about what went well and what do we need to change. And it was the kids who determined all of that. If they came up with a thing to change, then the next time we did that, we changed it, see if that was going to work. And so I have a question for you, and that is hiring.
Please step to the microphone.
Mm-hmm. Hiring a PE teacher, would you tell me how that gives kids a minimum of 30 minutes a day of PE?
So that would depend on how the district would implement this position. If to get 30 minutes a day at both sites,
for every class.
Yeah, you would have to probably hire 2 full-time elementary PE teachers. You have to have one dedicated to Healdsburg Elementary School, then one dedicated to Fitch Mountain. So it would just be on how the district could implement that. And then if you have a full-time physical education teacher there, they can also work with those teachers if they're not seeing them on those days. Hey, here's something we can work on today if you can get your class out for 30 minutes. As far as overview or oversight of it, it would be reliant on the district wellness committee and
Yeah, I'd be under the site principle. We did discuss actually quite at length this fall, along with Prop 28 monies and how we could maybe re-envision enrichment, hire certificated both art and PE teachers. The principals worked on schedules. There was just I mean, it just costs too much. That was the problem right now. It's something that we have a plan for at some point, but it's about having the funding to do it. So.
And to Mike's point, that $800,000 that we aren't spending towards teachers, this could work towards getting to that goal to meet ed code with there.
So what my concern is, my husband was a PE major, but not me. I had to learn how to do this. And in many ways I was an inadequate PE teacher, but I think that it's really hard, like at Fitch Mountain with those core classes, you're focusing that, grabbing that time when you can. I don't know about hiring, dedicated PE teachers, but, and I know that we have budget consideration, but I just really want to emphasize that it's critical that those kids go out every day. I don't care how it has to happen, but it has to happen. And
Understood.
you think I'm passionate about this? I am very passionate about this. I was passionate about it when I was a teacher as well, because I think it's a real disservice to kids.
Mm-hmm. And we see the impact of the high school with athletics. Like there's kids that we are to teach how to throw and catch, hop and skip. Like if you came to summer classes,
absolutely,
we're working on basic locomotor skills. And these are things that should have been learned at 5, 6, 7 years old. Mm-hmm. And that carries on throughout their lifetime. This impacts them for the rest of their life, this decision. Early intervention is key to reducing obesity-related diseases. And so I am passionate about this. I'd love to talk more. I'm always available. So thank you.
Thank you. No, I'm also interested in this, and I know, time's of the essence tonight, but I'm just really interested in sort of like, I think I kind of want to understand more about some of the things that you mentioned earlier related to what these like locomotor skills should look like and how to make PE really fun for elementary school students. Because I just feel like I've even seen like videos online of games that kids are playing both in a big gym or outside that just look awesome. Like they're incorporating all these pieces of, the cartwheel, right? learning how to do these basic sort of physical exercises that really will influence the rest of your life, and also making it something that's just joyful and, filled with energy. So, I'm interested in this. I feel like we've been talking about more robust continuity in PE for elementary school ever since I've been in the district in any capacity. And it does seem like it's part of a wellness plan to me. And I love the added benefit of giving potentially the elementary school teachers some additional prep time so that the kids are getting really good PE and the teachers have greater opportunity to prepare. So anyway, I'm interested in talking about it some more.
Again, like I said, this is a working document, and next year we'll be making more revisions. And I just want to point out too, with the physical activity, unrelated to physical education, like a class, the principals, and as we met, we talked about how just in general, the classroom instruction, that they do try to implement physical activity in instruction, like maybe taking the class outside and doing some of their instruction while being active instead of just sitting at a desk. Or, I'm not saying that in any way covers what you are asking for, Judy, but I do know that we did discuss, the purpose of physical activity along with physical education. So they're kind of two separate sections in the plan about that.
Right, I read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
It
the
says
teachers
60
and
minutes.
principals are very well aware of the instructional minutes requirements. And, we have a PE curriculum, but just like all things, it's hard to teach all the math standards, all the science standards, all the history standards. So I think, it's on the minds of teachers, principals, myself. So it's about priorities.
Yeah, and just understand the wellness plan, it's a compliance document. We can use it for some change, but it's not going to be the driver of changing PE. PE will be, if PE is going to change, it's going to come out of my office, C&I, and the principals. working with the teachers. So, yeah.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of work went into updating this document, so I don't mean to eclipse all of that work that went into this update with a single
And
discussion.
Leanne,
So thank you.
Leanne's, department is doing a great job, and I really want to acknowledge her.
I want to
Thank you.
second that as well. I think a lot of work has gone into this. Just quickly on the PE, it costs money, it takes time, and that all has to be considered. I am 100% behind PE. I won't get into my life, but I think it's important. But for two instructors, that's a healthy sum. I'm looking over the budget lady, and the time as far as building into a schedule, et cetera. But could it be looked into? Sure. But tonight we're dealing with the wellness program as presented.
I just want to remind the board that we've got 7 items to go in 20 minutes before you're going to start voting.
I do want to acknowledge one thing here, that the wellness policy is, to me, a really integral part of MTSS, and in terms of creating conditions for learning for our kids. This is fundamental, and it's also an equity issue around making sure that we're feeding the kids who need it most the best foods, the healthiest foods, that they're getting the exercise they need, that they're getting the mental health supports, et cetera. And so I do want to make sure people understand this plan is not just about exercise. It's not just about nutrition. It's really looking at the whole picture of the wellness of our students. I think we had a really good input from some community members and parents. And of course, a lot of the focus can be on the food, because that's, a thing that's quite visible to people. But it was a really good sign that we have families really interested in this in our district. And there's definitely, I think, opportunity, as Karen said, to expand this, to have site-specific groups that are really looking at issues and priorities for each site around nutrition, around exercise, around all the items, and maybe adding some categories around environmental things that are also impacting our kids. Things like air quality that we've done a lot of work on already, and that can really make a difference when needed. So I do also want to give Karen and Leanne a lot of kudos here for just taking this bull by the horns and getting this thing updated. But I really see it as a starting point. And again, all of these topics, there's room for improvement, there's room for growth. And we have a really great kind of core team, and we can now build on that. So thank you, ladies.
Thank
very
Yeah,
much.
I want to recognize Leanne in particular. She's, how many years has it been?
Well, I came at 2021, so this is the end of my 4th school year.
Yeah, she came in literally the hardest year in the existence of schools, and hit the ground running when the state made free food for all kids during the pandemic, when there was all kinds of supply challenges, and she made it work. And last year we worked through short staff. I mean, the last couple of years we worked through short staffing with her and her staff, and she continued to make improvements to the food and overcome some of the supply issues and the staffing issues. We're finally at full force in terms of the number of employees.
I'd like some more.
Yeah, always get in line. Yeah, but she's done a tremendous job just navigating the difficulties starting in 2021. So thank you, Leanne, for all of that, and I really appreciate all your time and efforts.
I want to add that.
Okay. Yeah.
Just like she, off the top of her head, we were talking about how much of the food is sort of from scratch and locally sourced, and she's estimating 40-45% of the food that we're feeding our kids.
It's actually over 55%.
There you
We
go.
did it for a survey this week.
And these are the things we want to get digital media to help us promote and talk about, because people don't know this. And so
I would just say I have a couple cool things coming up. We're going to do Plastic Free Lunch Day at the end of the month, and I'm bringing in Nature's Path to hopefully introduce bulk cereal, an organic cereal at the sites. Debbie and I were considering possible introducing bulk milk, and I've been able to work out a deal with Sonoma County Meat Company that next year we hope to move to the Healdsburg Ranch that gives them beef, and they got a deal that I can do pre-cooked beef crumble that they're going to get to me that will be Healdsburg beef.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Well, thank you, Leanne, for
good stuff.
Ramping it all up.
I support a lot of the local farms.
I do feed, and then I'm hoping to meet with Tukey Farms to maybe see how he could source my plan that I have for the fruits and vegetables that I offer on the salad bar, that I come in seasonally to see if there's things he could maybe consider planting, and then we can work directly with him.
Great. That's terrific. That said, could I have a motion to approve this plan? And all in favor? Aye. Thank you. And again, thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Did the course. Okay. School business, renaming the East Gym.
I'd like to propose that we table this. I am serious, just in the interest of time, and I feel like there's going to be a little bit of discussion. We don't have time for it, and I'd like to bring some policy. I had a discussion with the trustee about maybe having policy around criteria for naming things in the future. We could do them together.
Good.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, so no objections to tabling this until next time? All right. So let's go to 11.2B, amendment to the contract with Lathrop Construction for the guaranteed maximum price. Any objections to tabling? All right.
Okay, I'll talk fast. This is the final contract for Lathrop doing the front entry project at Healdsburg High School. That will start the day school gets out. And they'll be blocking off the parking lot and the grove, and construction will start. You approve?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
It's just the final price. You guys already approved Lathrop and the freaking.
Okay, applicants for Citizens Bond Oversight Committee for measures D and
Yeah, so
R.
Mr. John, we don't get very many applicants, and we have several vacancies, right, Mindy? And so John Osborne, he is eminently qualified to be on the committee, which doesn't have a high qualification criteria, but he actually is very experienced, and seems like he'd be a wonderful addition. So I would propose, having been on the board of Alexander Valley Schools and involved in the management of a bank, I think he'd have some things to add. So would like to propose that you guys consider approving him as a member of our bond oversight.
As a former member of the bond oversight committee, I would like to approve this application.
As another fellow prior member of the
John
bond
Osborne.
oversight committee, I second that.
As the vice president of the board, I call for a vote, please. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, 11.3A, personnel, revised director of curriculum and instruction job description.
All right, so I have some job descriptions to review with you. First one is the revised director of curriculum and instruction position job description. This last time this one was revised was in 2016. So it definitely needed to be revised. There's as you look over the list, there's quite a few revisions to it that are outlined in red. And so if you have been able to review it, this is a discussion today, and then I will bring it back for approval on consent in May, if you are good with the changes that have been made.
My question is probably oriented. I mean, it seems like the timing on this is a little backwards. It's a little late. What like? And we posted the job. And
well, if we know where we're going,
but I mean, just do. I mean, whoever we're interviewing, have this, and like we have to approve it, and we're not going to approve it for a month.
No, it's fine. We can go over the draft with them. I mean, it might be a little late, but I don't think it's a problem.
I mean, the bottom line, we could always change anybody's job description at any time.
Especially in management. It's easy. Yeah.
I do have some comments and notes, which I don't, not enough time, but I can send them to.
Yeah, and it's for approval in a month, so
yeah.
This is,
Definitely.
So we can definitely, if there is a need for revision, we can still revise.
Yeah, and you'll note those when it comes back in a month, if there's
any
additional
revisions that
suggested
you
revisions at this
suggest,
time, but if there are additional, you'll let us
then
know.
I would make that noted in the final version.
To be clear, too, the job is being reduced to 60%. So the job description is written as if it was 100. So there will be duties taken off potentially the person because it is a reduced role, right? So that's part of, depending on who's going to be in it. So, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to B, coordinator of expanded learning job description.
So the state of California has blessed the schools with lots of funding for after-school programming. It's easy for a lot of schools to spend it. It's more difficult for schools like us who already have an ACES grant to fund after-school programming. And so I'm proposing using some of the grant money to hire a part-time coordinator. We're envisioning about a 20% manager to help us coordinate programs and build out a robust after-school program and help us be able to spend out those funds as prescribed by the state. If we don't spend funds, they go back to the state. So we want to spend them.
I think it's very clever to use the funds for this.
And this position would oversee both the expanded learning programs that we have and also our ACES program. And so that would be most likely work, close, obviously, with the director of curriculum instruction. It may even be the same person who's in the 0.6 position may even possibly take that 0.2 position if that works for the person. And so this draft is a new job description. And so there's quite a few job descriptions already that exist that are out there for this type of position. And so we, reviewed some samples, and this one best fit our needs. And we added details that fit, like I said, fit what we needed for our school district.
Any questions? Okay, this is a discussion item. Moving on to 11.3C, alternative education social worker / counselor job description.
All right, so this position, it would be a counseling position that would serve the Marcy Becerra Academy. And so this position would require someone who has a PPS credential. A PPS credential.
PPS. Thank you.
Yes. And the reason why we have it labeled as counselor / social worker is it could be someone who has a school counseling credential or someone who actually has a PPS in social work. The benefit of someone with a social worker PPS is they would actually be able to assist with services such as counseling, case management, and crisis intervention. And so that is something that would be very helpful in Marcy and supporting the students as well as their families. And since there may be a restructure of how MBA is next year, that this counseling position would fit perfectly for how it'll
This is
look.
part of the larger plan that you were updated on around the restructuring, Marcy.
What percentage?
It'll be full-time.
Full-time?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there is some funding to help pay for it. And eventually, we believe it will be one of the positions that we can charge both Medi-Cal and insurance for.
Right.
So, yeah.
If there is a Medi-Cal. Okay, moving on to number 12, Board of Trustees reports, comments, or requests for information. We're all good, all up to date, excellent. And there's no need, is there any requests? No. Recess to close session?
No.
No requests. And so our next regular board meeting will be Wednesday, May 21st, here, at the high school library. Yes. That's a typo. Let me cross that out. Is it here? It will be here at the City Hall. Wednesday, May 21st at the City Hall. Deadlines May 12th to submit agenda request forms and May 14th for backup materials. Are there any final comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, seeing none. Oh, I don't want to leave early. We are adjourned.